All right. I'm already more upon your hakudam. Rise your face to peace. Repeat after me the Lashon Kodash, the Lord's Prayer. Abinawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Yah, Shemka, Yahweh, Allah Patkah, Tabah, Ratazahika, Ayah, Aisha, Maharatas, Kha, Ayah, Shemayim, Nanawa, Lakam, Kayawam, Wasalaknos, Wathinawa, Wasalaknos, Wathinawa, Wala, Tabayanawa, Wanasir one, Bo, Washina, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Malakwa, Wala Allah, Wata Bora, La Ulamya, Hashem, Mashiach, Yahushai, Yad, Amman. Let's pray in this.
After this manner, therefore pray, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, that will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. By Hashem Mashiach Yahushai, the water be out. Amen.
Repeat after me the blessing of Shabbat and life from God. Barak Yahweh, Hashem, Mashiach, Yahushai, Awa'ah, Tananawa, Bashalom, the water, the Miyad, Aman. Blessed be Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that gives us the Sabbath day in peace. Thank you to be Aman. Repeat after me the Lashon Kodash. Barak Yahweh, Hashem, Mashiach, Yahushai, Awa'ah, Tananawa, the water, the Miyad, Aman. Thank you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that give us the law and peace. Repeat after me the Lashon Kodash. Barak Yahweh, Hashem, Mashiach, Yahushai, the water, the Miyad, Salakia. Barak Yahweh, Hashem, Mashiach, Yahushai, the Tananawa, Hakasad, the water, the Miyad, Aman. Thank you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai. Give us your tender love, your loving kindness and mercies. The water, thank you, to be in Aman. I would come before you, Never Mashiach, Yahushai, that we ask you to forgive us for our iniquities. And we ask you to feed us with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, Yahweh. Feed us with your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We'll be able to understand that Torah, which is thy law, Yahweh, thy instruction, thy life, thy love, Yahweh, that thou hast given us, because you showed us love first, Yahweh, by giving us your love. And we ask that you guide us and help us be able to interpret and be able to administer your law, as it is written in the Torah, Yahweh. We ask that you allow us to be able to apply it in our lives, and be able to teach those that don't know your law to be able to apply in their lives, Yahweh. As we go into this Torah portion, Yahweh, we ask that you watch over those that's on the live tonight, Yahweh, this noon, Yahweh, and we will ask you watch over those that's in the room today, Yahweh. With all this, we ask in the name of your beloved Son, Mashiach Yahushai, the water of the Miyad, Aman. Yeshua ben Yisita. Okay. Shabbat Shalom. All praises be to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For sure, mercy and do it forever. We are a humble service in D-Line Zion, Miami. Coming back at you with another Shabbat service, going over the Torah portion as is written in the scripture. You know, how many people went over the last week's class last week? How many of us reflected on some of the things and the points that we brought up last week? Because a lot of these portions that we do, these information that we bring out, we don't do it for ourselves, but we bring it out for what our people. Because it's for you. It's for your calling, for your high calling.
Right.
Because even Yahweh said himself, beware no man take your what?
Crown.
Beware no man take your crown. Why would you say that unless other people could take your crown? Unless somebody else could be better than you and take your spot. So if you're not constantly refining yourself, there's somebody else that the Most High is going to find that is constantly refining himself, that is trying to go for that extra, for that A, that 105%, that A plus in the test. There's always going to be that person that's going to be trying to do better than you. So you have to make sure you're at your best at all throughout your life. You have to make sure you're at your best. And this walk is no different. It's just like you in the league right now. In the World's Finals, the Israelites are going to win.
Okay. But
do you want to be the MVP in that finals game? Do you want to make sure you have the most deep, the defensive? You had the biggest defensive role in the game. Are you going to be the score taker? You drop the most scores, the most steals, the most assists. What you trying to do? Because your teammates, they're trying to make sure they're MVP. The MVP is 144. So if you're not constantly refining yourself, constantly going over this information, the Most High is looking at who is doing it. Right. And if it's between you and him, the Most High going to choose him. Because he's going for that prize. Let's open up Colossians 3:17. We'll open up Colossians 3:17. Today's portion is Genesis chapter 47, verse 28, to Genesis chapter 50 and verse 26. That's today's portion. If you got Colossians 3:17, let us know. Count out of one God.
Count out.
All right, go ahead.
Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. And whatsoever you do, word or deed, do all in the name of Mashiach. I was giving thanks to the Most High for him.
So everything we say, everything we do, we give all honor, all glory, all authority to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of the Israelites. You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. Because he's only our power at the end of the day. Was, is, and always shall be. And his beloved son is who? Our Savior. Was, is, and always will be. I want you to open up. I want you to give me Philippians 3:14. Because I said something earlier. The high calling of Mashiach Yahweh. There's a reason why there's 144 for a reason. 144 is for a reason. That's the higher class of the kingdom of heaven. In ancient times, you'll have an empire. They'll have different provinces, right? Different countries, and they'll set a prince over that country to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. That 144, those 144 positions, 144,000 positions like that. But you're going to be doing it for the world. Most I may set tasks on over Asia Minor. You may set Captain Abaddon over Cyrene in Libya. You may set you over there over Mission Cushites. Or not doing that little neck dance thing they be doing, giving us cardiac arrest. He gonna set us over. Every man want power. Every man want authority. Every man want position. So how hard are you trying to go for that seat with the Most High? Go ahead.
I just wanted to add what you're saying. Bring out one precept to expound, because everybody think, everybody's equal in the kingdom of heaven. There was never no equality in ancient Israel. In ancient times and now, because within a nation of a race of people, there's always different classes of people in a society. There's the common people, there's the people that are slightly above the common people, and then there's the people that govern and rule. In Daniel 1:3 it says, and the king spake unto Ashpenaz, master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, man. You had the children of the king, and you had the princes, the people in the higher society in ancient Israel. It was always like that.
Right.
So where do you want to sit in that kingdom? You want to be a regular man, or do you want to be called a prince? Like, you in charge of this entire area, this entire country, this portion.
Right.
That's what you gotta ask yourself. Do you want to be at the back of the feast when Yahweh is in Jerusalem? Or do you want to sit right next to the man, bumping elbows? Yo, Yahweh, you seen that brother's guy? Man, and Yahweh like, I know, I didn't see him. suffer it a little bit. What brother do you want to be? Because I ain't gonna lie to you. I want to sit so close to Yahweh, my elbows like on his chest at the table. Like that's how close I want to sit next to the Mashiach Yahweh. I'm gonna have to try to fight the disciples to sit that close to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the position that we desire. All honesty, some people are scared, afraid to say it, but you go and chase the higher calling for Mashiach Yahweh. This is what we go out and chase. This is the goal, to be next to our outer one. Didn't the disciples argue? Yo, who's the closest to you? Some of the disciples said, listen, let me sit at your right hand, let him sit at your left hand. in your throne, you have your throne.
Right.
They know what time it is. We don't want to try to be sluggards and watch Netflix and, oh, my ribs say, I got to drink some breast milk, I can't come to Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No, you got to go after that high calling. Go ahead and read it for me. Philippians 3:14.
Philippians 3:14. I press toward the mark of the prize of the high calling of the Most High in Mashiach.
I want you to start from verse 12.
Verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
Not as though I had already attained, either were already perfect, but I follow after it, that I may apprehend that for which also I am apprehended of Christ Yahushua.
Go ahead.
Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind.
So Paul said, man, I'm moving like I didn't even have it yet. Like I don't got a seat yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because some brothers already got their seat already. The scriptures already revealed some people that's for fact is gonna be in the kingdom of the Most High. Can anybody give me some names? The scripture told us like 12 men in the gospel. Well, it gave us about 15 people that's certified that's gonna be there in the gospel. So what's some names? The apostles, that's 12 already.
Yeah.
They seat.
Yeah.
It's locked. Seat locked. Nobody's taking their seat. Who else? Three other people.
No. In the New Testament?
Yeah. New Testament. 15 people got seat lock already. The 12 disciples, that's 12. You know it. I went over it with it.
Is it Abraham?
Abraham. Who else? Isaac and Jacob. Give me Matthew's 8. The 8 and 11.
8 and 11. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and west.
East and west, what?
They shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob.
So they're gonna be there. They got their seat. That's 15 people already. Right? Most I told Daniel he's not coming back again until it's time for him to get the inheritance. Ezra too in the book of Ezra, second Ezra chapter 14. So these men, they put in so much work with the Most High, so much favor with the Most High. He said, you're not coming back until it's time for you to get the inheritance.
Daniel as well, if I'm not wrong.
Huh?
Daniel?
Yeah, Daniel 12 and 13. So the Most High have some people that already put in so much work, so much favor with the Lord. He said, when you come back, you just coming to get the prize. How many of us could say that? How many of us could say that when we die today, we is going to have a mansion ready for us in the spiritual realm? We don't got to come back. We just coming back just to take the throne, take the kingdom. That's it. How many of us could say we're going to be 140? How many of us could say, if I die today, I will be resurrected to life, not for everlasting contempt? How many of us could say that? Because you can't say that, you got to put in overtime. You got to go for that higher calling, mastery. Because if you don't, that next man that's next to you, he's going to get it. Because it's 12,000 from each tribe, right? Don't you think those other Benjamites want that seat, but more than you?
Right.
To be honest, I think it's one of the hardest seats to Levi because a lot of us, we just so quick on with the scriptures. It's almost too much competition. Right? But I understand my brethren from my tribe, they want it just as bad as me, so I got to be more hungry than them. I got to be more hungry for righteousness' sake. I gotta make less mistakes in the eyes of the Most High. I gotta go out there and go do more time for my people. Because I know if that one mistake could be my last mistake, another man could take my crown. Another man could take it. Go ahead and read that in 1 Corinthians 9. I want you to read 1 Corinthians 9, and I want you to start from verse 24. That next man will take your seat.
1 Corinthians 9:24.
Go ahead and read up a little louder.
Know ye not that they which run in a race run all?
So Paul's letting us know through wisdom, a lot of his letters are wisdom, right? That when you run in a race, you run halfway race. You give it 10% of your strength. How much strength do you give in the race? You give 100. Why? Because in a race, is it just you racing?
Nah.
I'll be jogging.
You got competitors.
You got competitors.
Right.
You got competitors. Go ahead.
But one receiveth the prize.
And one receiveth the what?
The prize.
And one receiveth the prize.
Mm-hmm.
One person gonna get that reward. When you look at the nation of Israel, who's gonna get the reward to be delivered out of America, to be allowed into the wilderness? Because you're in competition right now to earn your right, and through the will of the Most High, to be on those chariots. How many people is going to be allowed in the chariots, in that race? In the chariots? 1/3. What happened to the rest of the 66.6%? They're going to be destroyed. They didn't run fast enough.
Right.
They didn't chase righteousness hard enough. They didn't sacrifice and shed themselves to the world enough to make it to that finish line. But that's not it, though, because we still got to go through the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a purging in there. Then into the land of Israel, we make it. That's the end right there. Well, go ahead and read that verse again for me. 1 Corinthians 9.
Mm-hmm. Verse 24.
Know
ye not that they which run in a race run all?
Run all, read.
But one receiveth the prize.
But one receiveth the prize. Go ahead.
So run.
What did he say?
So run.
So run, read.
That you may obtain.
That you may what?
Obtain.
I remember a brother told me this in high school. We played football varsity. He said, slow feet don't eat. And that's true in this world. Slow feet don't eat. Because if you're not hungry for this word, you're not hungry to put in, the next man is hungry. Because you don't know, most I come into nobody and say, son, thou hast done enough.
Right.
Sleep is a little bit longer. Most times I communicating with no man on that level to tell him you could just chill on Netflix it. Right? House of the Dragon MF season 2. Yeah. No man is being communicated like that. So you don't know if what you're doing is enough in the eyes of the Most High. Go ahead.
And every man that striveth for the mastery.
Striveth for the what?
Mastery.
What did you say?
Mastery.
Every man that striveth for mastery. What does it mean to have mastery over something?
You master it.
Master it. What does it look like when you master something?
The expert.
You're an expert. And when you're an expert at something, you don't do what? You do what? When you master something, you don't make what? You don't make mistakes. You don't make errors. How many of us still sin? So did we get mastery yet?
No.
So we got a lot of work to do. How many of us has entered into the kingdom of heaven yet?
No.
How many of us are 144? How many of us could look at an Edomite and say, "Hahak Shatan," and our fight just come down to the sky because you're on that level with the Most High God? None of us.
No.
So we're still trying to strive for that mastery in the eyes of the Most High. We still got to go through that constant refining. That's the word of the day, refine. Constant refurbishing of your spirit. Go ahead.
Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we are incorruptible.
We chasing for what? An incorruptible crown. We want that crown that Yahweh Shah is going to give us. That's what we want. Go ahead. I'm going to get the precept for that.
I therefore so run, not as uncertainly.
So Paul say, I'm running, right? Because, Paul Benjamin, he running like Usain Bolt. Not like he don't know what he's doing, why he's here, what he's trying to obtain, but what?
So fight. I, not as one that beareth the air. He's
fighting like he's not beating somebody, like somebody that's punching the air. Read.
But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway.
So the reason why he goes so hard is because the whole time he's telling other people, like, yo, you got to strive for 1/3. 144. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. We're about to be saved. And he's running uncertain. He don't know what he's doing here. And he fall out. Somebody else take that position. That's the wisdom that he's giving us. Slow feet don't give it 110%. Because he talk about this crown. And every man should be thinking about this. Every woman should be thinking about this crown. Because only a few is going to get it. Give me that. I think it's first Ezra 2:40. Second Ezra 2:40. Well, a few people won't get these crowns. So what you trying to do to get it? So start from 2:43. Actually, 2:42. 2:42.
Second Ezra chapter 2, verse 42.
Pick up a little bit more.
I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people.
A great people. This hasn't happened yet. Go ahead.
Whom I could not number. And they all praised the Most High with songs.
They all praise the Most High with songs. For them to be able to praise the Most High in songs, they have to be the righteous. Because the wicked there, what they singing? Pooh Shiesty, right? Kill, die. Spin the block on the op before I get shot by the cop. Go ahead.
And in the midst of them, there was a young man of a high stature.
Right. This man was more exalted than everybody else. Go ahead.
Taller than all the rest. And upon every one of their heads.
And upon every one of their heads, what did he give?
He said crown.
He said what?
Crown.
He said who?
Crown.
This is what Paul was talking about, an incorruptible crown. This man is the one that's going to give these incorruptible crowns. A crown that no one could take. The crown that you're fighting for. Go ahead.
And was more exalted.
He was more what?
Exalted. Which I marked at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these?
So Ezra asked this angel, he's like, oh, what's going on here in this vision? What's happening? Who's this man? Go ahead.
And he answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing.
They put off the what?
The mortal clothing.
What does it mean when you put off the mortal clothing? What does that mean? That does not mean you're gonna not be having blood and bones and stuff like that. What does that mean?
Put off the old man.
Put off the old man. What does it mean to put off that old man? Same concept.
The mind state.
What's the most wrong with the mind state?
It's what's the word I'm looking for? But I don't want to say the obvious. It was corrupt. But I would say pretty much that it's corruptible.
What makes it corruptible?
I can't find the word.
It's very simple. They put off the mortal clothing,
Yeah.
right? That carnal clothing. Remember we went over this last week. For those of you that watched Shabbat service last week.
Yeah.
They put off that fleshly carnal. What makes you carnal? What makes you fleshly? What makes you that old man? What's wrong with that old man?
Vulnerable to sin.
It's vulnerable to what?
To sin.
It's sin. They put off that sinful nature. They're obedient to the Most High's will and His commandments. Go ahead.
And put on the immortal.
They put on the what?
Immortal.
They put on the immortal. Let me get let's hold that. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon. Precept on that. Because I don't believe that everybody has a solid understanding. We're not going to live forever and ever 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 and ever. Right? We want to say Give me first Wisdom of Solomon 1:15. I hope everybody understands that. There's not going to be cajillion people on the earth because everybody's living forever. That's not happening. All right. So what is he talking about? You took off the mortal clothing to put on the immortal. What makes us immortal? What makes us live forever in the eyes of the Most High? Go ahead.
Wisdom of Solomon 1:15.
For righteousness is what?
Is immortal.
This is what they put on. They put on righteousness. They took off the mortal clothing. It's that sinful nature and wickedness. They shed that off and then they put on the immortal. They put on righteousness, the will of the Most High. When we're at this point, we're not going to be able to sin. Go back to where we at.
and have confessed the name of the Most High. Now are they crowned and receive palms. Then said I unto the angel, what young person is it?
So now the angel already explained what's going on with these people. Now he's about to break down who is this individual that's giving out these crowns. Go ahead.
That crowneth them, and giveth them palms in their hands. So he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High. It is the Son of the Most High, whom they have confessed in the world.
So who's the Son of the Most High?
Yahushua.
How did they confess Yahushua in the world? Are they just saying Yahushua, Yahushua, Yahushua? How did they confess Yahushua? Well, these are simple questions. Nice. By following the law, statutes, commandments, and also doing what?
The works.
They're doing the works that testify that they're what? That they're obedient to the Most High. They're obedient to Yahushua. Their works, the way they live their life, testify, okay, they're confessing Yahushua. They're showing the world how Yahushua said we were supposed to live.
Light.
Right, being that light. So let's go right into the portion. We're gonna go to Genesis 47. So what we last left off in the portion. So if you did not watch the Shabbat service, go tune in. We went over a lot of things about leadership. A lot of us was ranked up. A lot of us was not ranked up. What review that definitely edifying for you. So what we went over last week regarding the portion. We went over last week for the portion.
Joseph finally get to meet all his brethren.
What else happened? Give me a little detail about that. Go a little bit more into detail. Go ahead, brother.
He pretty much he got back with him
Uh-huh.
because they pretty much sold him. And I'm trying to think. They wanted him to get, well, Joseph wanted to see the youngest, which is Benjamin.
Why did you want to see Benjamin? Why was he so eager to see Benjamin?
Man, I can't remember.
Because I was the son of the father, of the mother, of his same mother.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So he showed Benjamin what a little bit more faith.
Right.
Because he shared the same mother, exactly the same father as well. So he was more closer to Benjamin than the other brother.
Right.
What else happened in the portion? What else happened in the portion?
Joseph put the silver cup in his sack, Benjamin's sack. So they felt like they, I don't know, I guess took it without knowing. So.
Okay, what else happened?
Joseph wanted his father to come down to Egypt because of the famine. So he wanted them to dwell. Pretty much everybody wanted to come. He wanted everybody to come to the land of Goshen, pretty much to settle.
So stop right there. So I need the next man to answer this.
Right.
So what was the game plan Joseph gave to the people when they didn't come to Pharaoh so they could get Goshen? What was the game plan?
They were shipwrecked.
Why? Why did he tell them to say that specifically?
Because we pretty much despise them for that's kind of against them.
Okay. Kind of loyal. All praises to the Most High. Now, make sure you guys are reviewing the portion, review it. If you know your memory is not as strong, make sure you review that portion. Make sure you write down notes at the end of the day, because it should be in your inward parts. Right? That's the goal. That's mastery. You get to the point where you don't need your notes. That means you mastered it. You got it. It's in your nature. It's in your spirit. Because you don't need notes to remember how to blink. It's instincts. You don't need notes to tell you, okay, it's time for me to go to sleep. It's already programmed in you. You want the Torah to be programmed in your spirit. So until we get to that point, you got to try to find methods to be able to retain information regarding notes, writing things down, flashcards, review the videos the day before. All right, so let's go right into it. Genesis 47 and 28.
Genesis chapter 47, verse 28.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. Mm-hmm. So the whole age of Jacob was 147 years. Mm-hmm. And the time drew nigh that Israel must die.
So it's about time, almost time for Israel to die. Right? So he spent a very long time upon the face of the earth. And we know many events during Jacob's pilgrimage. Like, what are some of the things that happened in Jacob's lifetime? What are some of the things? We say we're the sons of Jacob, right? We should know about our father Jacob. What events that took place in his life?
He fought with the angel.
He wrestled with the angel. He fought with the angel.
And his name changed.
He had his name changed to Yasha'Allah.
Right.
So what else happened? What else happened during the pilgrimage of Jacob? Because eventually we're about to skip into the next. We're about to go into over almost 400 years later from their stories. I believe by the time this portion is done, we'll be going to Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to be going to Genesis until what? Later on in the year, towards the end of the year. So what happened with the pilgrimage of Jacob? We know his name was changed. We know he wrestled with the angels.
Right.
He had 12 sons, 4 wives. What else happened?
With his brother Esau.
He met with his brother Esau.
Huh? Just the all that appease him.
Right. To appease him.
Right.
Go ahead.
Pardon?
No, I said go ahead. Anybody else? What happened during the life of Jacob? Because a lot of times when we see Amalek, we get mad when Amalek be like, "Oh yeah, I'm a Jewish." Listen, Amalek, we know a little bit about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He may not understand the Torah. He be having the chicken, and you ask him about Yaakov, he gonna be able to break it down to you. And if we fighting against him, and he asks you about Jacob's life, and you can't explain that, then he's like, "You see, Cush." He'll call you Cushy. That means Cush. And he gonna confound you. So, and you gonna try to get Revelation 2:9, and he gonna okay, that's cool, but tell me about Jacob, and you're gonna be confounded. So, what happened during Jacob's life? So, some of that happened. We know he lost Joseph. That's something right there. 140 something years passed. He got birthright from Esau. What happened?
The whole thing with his uncle Laban.
Okay, what happened with his uncle Laban?
His uncle basically tricked him for his daughter, and then the whole thing was trying to keep him there because he saw how fruitful it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay, come on. Hallelujah. I'll praise this. Anybody else? All right, let's go ahead and continue. Verse 29.
29. So, and the time drew nigh that Israel must die.
Mm-hmm.
And he called his son Joseph
Mm-hmm.
and said unto him,
Mm-hmm.
If now I have found grace
Mm-hmm.
in thy sight,
Mm-hmm.
put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh,
Mm-hmm.
and deal kindly and truly with me.
Mm-hmm.
Bury me not, I pray thee, in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a question. Where was the last time we heard about this form of making a vow? Putting your hand on somebody's thigh. Who was the last person that said that?
Isaac when he was going to get
A
Was it
blessing.
Isaac?
Yeah.
Was it
he
Isaac?
sent his servant to go back to the land where forefathers stood.
Think back.
You warm. You close. You close. But you mix it up a little bit.
When Jacob took the birthright.
You know how Esau says, this man is our founding father? This man is our founding father.
It's because of him. That's why we got the kingdom of heaven in the first place. The Most High made the promise with him first. Abraham has to do with Abraham.
And his servant Eleazar what? Vowed that his son Isaac should not marry what? Any of the Canaanites. That he should go back to the land of his kindred, right? And take a wife over there for his son. You see that Jacob, he heard this. You know, this Abraham was his grandfather, but you know, this is one of the he kept the tradition with what he was taught by his father.
Go ahead.
Thy hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I pray thee, in Egypt.
So he tells them, bury him not in Egypt. Because who's in Egypt predominantly in this time? The Egyptians, the children of Mizraim. Jacob's not native to Egypt. So in ancient times, we took death, we had a higher understanding of death and how serious it was. In modern day, you just put somebody in a little hole and that's it, etc. Growing up, I used to hear him like my dad, you know, he used to tell me this. I used to hear my aunties, a lot of my family from Haiti, they used to say, when I die, don't bury me here. Bury me in Haiti. In their mind, that's where they believe that's where they were from. You know, and that's something that it was always stressed. Don't bury me in America. Bury me in my country. That's what they used to say. So in ancient times, a lot of our people, they took it like more serious, higher understanding of it. Because people could just see, oh yeah, Jacob was so righteous, why he died, and etc. Why this, and that. But we have to have a better understanding of death. Give me Sirach 41 and 1. But death is something that's very natural. Because everything goes in a cycle with the Most High. You're born, you grow, you're at your best, you get weak, and you die. All of us are going to die one day. Everybody got to see death. A lot of us right now, we're in our primes. A lot of us, we're going to be leaving our prime soon when you get weaker. And when you get weaker, death is at the door. But that's something that we shouldn't be afraid of. That's something we should embrace. Because that's the sentence that the Most High gave to man in the beginning. Man was never created to live forever and ever 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 until he ends. The Most High gave us our appointed year where we will expire and then we'll go back up and then we'll come back on earth again. Go ahead.
Sirach 41 and 1.
Go ahead.
O death, how big is the remembrance of thee to a man that liveth at rest?
Well, first, let me get Sirach 40, start from verse 1.
40 verse 1. Great travail is created for every man, and heavy yoke is upon the sons of Adam.
Go ahead.
From the day that they go out of their mother's
womb. To the day that they're born. Let's see what this great travail is, this great fear is. Go ahead.
To the day that they return to the mother of all things. Their imagination of things to come and the day of death.
The day of what?
The day of death.
The day of death. And it has the brackets. The day of trouble. Because everybody have it in the back of their minds like, one day I'm going to die. You don't know how you're going to die, but you know you're going to die. Go ahead.
Trouble their thoughts.
Trouble their what?
Trouble their
thoughts and what?
And cause fear of heart.
And it causes fear of heart. Now you can skip to the next chapter. Verse 1.
41 verse 1.
Go ahead.
O death, how bitter is the remembrance of thee to a man that liveth at rest in his possession.
Because imagine you spend your whole life, you sacrifice everything. You put your, how Broadway said, you put your life and grind, right? To get everything that you desire, the family you desire, everything. When you get to that point, what's the back of your mind? Death. Because one day you're going to have to leave it all behind. One day you're going to have to go back to your maker.
Right.
Go ahead.
Unto the man that hath nothing to vex, and that hath prosperity in all things, yea, unto him that is yet able to receive meat.
When you're able to eat that good food, that good curry, you thinking about that, like, damn, my deathbed, man, I'm not able to eat curry. This will be the last part of a vegan oxtail, right? The last steak, the last filet mignon, the last bento box, for those of us that eat stuff like that. Go ahead.
O death, acceptable is thy sentence unto the needy, and unto him whose strength faileth.
But people that's sick, People that's not feeling well, what do they look forward to? Death. People that have like stage 3, stage 4 cancer, throat cancer, when they know they're not going to be getting any better, and they're in pain, they look forward to death. Why? Why do they look forward towards death?
Get that relief.
They get that relief. They don't get to feel pain no more, hurt no more.
Mm-hmm.
For those that's probably lost everything in their life, lost their wife, their kids, everything, they seek death because death is what? You don't got to worry about all of that when you go. Go ahead.
That is now in the last age,
Mm-hmm.
and is vexed with all things.
Mm-hmm.
And to him that despaireth and have lost patience,
Go ahead, verse 3.
fear not the sentence of death.
That's what you're saying?
Fear not the sentence of
So the
death.
scripture says, don't fear death when you come. Don't fear the sentence of death. And this is the sentence of death. When you get sentenced something, what does that mean? So it's a terminology used in the courthouse. What does that mean? Well, you're sentenced.
Put away.
That's the final say.
That's the final say.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Most High established from the beginning. Go ahead.
Remember them that have been before thee.
Because we're about to see Jacob, he's about to pass away soon. Abraham, I believe Abraham already passed away. Noah passed away. Shem, Ham, Japheth, they passed away. All these brothers passed away. Go ahead.
And that come after thee.
Mm-hmm.
For this is the sentence of the Most High over all flesh.
Over all who?
All flesh.
Over all flesh. All flesh has to go through this process. All flesh. Go ahead.
And why art thou against the pleasure of the Most High?
Now, when you're fighting against it, when you're all up in your feelings about it, you're going against the pleasure of the Most High. Because everything the Most High created was what? What did he say in Genesis? He looked at all his works and he said it was what? It's good. The Most High set the bounds and how the chemicals and elements were, how life was going to be, your train of thought. He looked at all of that and he said, it's good. Perfect. Just balance. Go ahead.
There is no inquisition in the grave,
Mm-hmm.
whether thou have lived 10
Mm-hmm.
or 100 or 1,000 years.
In 1,000 years, because this is the sentence of the Most High. But it's death is all. When you die, is that all? What happens after you die?
Then the
Rest of
judgment.
it, forefathers.
You rest with your forefather. You rest forever? What happens after?
You come back in the third and fourth generation.
You come back in the third and fourth generation. Go ahead. You got a precept?
Second
Say
Ezra
Ezra.
14:35.
Go ahead. St. Ezra 14:35.
1435.
Or you can start at 34, I guess.
Start from verse 34.
34. Therefore,
Mm-hmm.
if so be that you will subdue your own understanding,
You have to do your own understanding. America make it seem like, you have to be afraid of these things. We know death, but we know death is not all.
Oh,
We know that's not all.
14:34.
How many of us was tuned in during this, the closing of the feast of dedication service? When we went over it, the brother Eleazar, the scribe, I think he was a Levite, if he's a scribe, yeah, he's probably a Levite. The brother Eleazar, right? How he chose to go and get himself put to death instead of eating pork.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't fit because he had an understanding. Because we had a Hebraic understanding that we don't just live once. We come back.
Right.
There's no eternal hell where you burn forever. Satan is not punishing you for disobeying God because he got kicked out from heaven for disobeying God. That's dumb as hell.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't believe that as a people. We understood that you come back again on the earth. And when you come back on the earth, you reap what you sow when you come back on earth. Whatever you did, that's what dictates how you live this life. Go ahead.
and reform your hearts,
Mm-hmm.
ye shall be kept alive.
Go ahead.
And after death,
And after death, you show up.
ye shall obtain mercy.
Mm-hmm.
For after death
Uh-huh.
shall the judgment come,
Shall the judgment come, you get sentenced. Great.
when we shall live again.
Then you live again. We understood that.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob understands that. Our ancestors understood that. That's why they were able to go so hard for the Most High. When we went over that woman and her 7 sons, what did one of those sons did? He gave his arms up. He said, listen, the Most High gave me these things.
Mm-hmm.
When I live again, I'm going to get them back.
Right.
They understood that, and that motivated them to go harder for the Most High. Because there's going to be times that we see in America when you're going to look death right in the face. You might get the beat down so bad, you might see death is standing right there sitting in that chair. And you're going to have to remember, this is not the only life. Most High gave it, he could take it.
Right.
If he could take it, he could give it back again. Let's go right back to where we at now, Genesis.
Genesis chapter 47, verse 30. But I will lie with my fathers, and thou shalt carry me out of Egypt, and bury me in their burying place. And he said, I will do as thou hast said. And he said, swear unto me. And he swore unto him. And Israel bowed himself upon the bed's head. Chapter 48, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim.
So he took his sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, because Joseph already had a conversation with Jacob already. Jacob already perceived that he was gonna what? He was gonna die. The minute Joseph hears his father's sick, he already, okay, this is that time he was telling me about. He's about to pass away. So he already grabbed his two sons and go meet with his father. Go ahead.
And one told Jacob and said, behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said unto Joseph, the Most High Almighty appeared unto me in Luz, in the land of Canaan, and blessed me.
So stop. Let's see everybody who's paying attention to the portion. Now, Jacob told the Most High something. He said, if you do this and that, then you will be my God. What was the vow what Jacob did with the Most High? That solidified the Most High being in his power. It has a lot to do with his brother. That's the hint right there. It has a lot to do with Esau. Jacob told the Most High, if you do this and that, then I will know you'll be my God. What was it? What did he need the Most High to do for him?
Was from allow Esau to forgive him?
Very warm. Very warm. Very warm. They get more into detail because everybody has Bibles, phones. Everybody got all the necessary tools to get the answers. Everybody got the necessary tools. What was it? What did the Most High have to do to show Jacob he was with them? Well, everybody get the answer. We'll continue reading.
Before that, does anybody remember the event? Where did it take place? At what stage and age Jacob was when this happened?
Right before he was about to meet.
Not quite. Okay. I want you to continue reading while to get the answer. Go ahead.
Okay.
Verse 2. Verse what?
4. And said unto me, behold, I will make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude of people, and give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. And now thy sons, now thy two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born to thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee into Egypt, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine.
So what did Jacob do right here with Reuben, with the sons of Joseph? This is the same reason. Remember, Ephraim and Manasseh. What's the relationship with the 12 with the 12 sons? What's Levi and Ephraim and Manasseh's relationship? What's your family relationship? Relations. Okay, I'll say this. What is Benjamin and Simeon's relationship? Is it father and uncle? What is it? They're brothers.
Right.
What is Ephraim and Manasseh's biological relationship with Reuben?
They're their uncle.
That's their uncle. Are they brothers?
No.
Or is that Joseph? Is that your sons?
No, that's their
Joseph.
grandson.
They're his grandsons. So what Jacob was doing here, he's grafting men and saying, yo, they're gonna get the same inheritance. They're gonna be part of this covenant, part of this, what's going on over here, just like Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Gad, and Issachar. This is why you see that they're one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Realistically, they're his grandsons.
Mm-hmm.
From this point on, they're a part of what's going on now. So the sister Moriah, my sister, the Living Precept book, put the precept for you guys. Let's get Genesis 28 and 20 to 22. Genesis chapter 28, verse 20 to 22.
Genesis 28 and 20.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob vowed a vow, saying,
Mm-hmm.
if the Most High will be
Go ahead.
with me
If the Most High will be with me, go ahead.
and will keep me in this way that
Uh-huh.
I go,
Uh-huh.
and will give me bread to eat
Uh-huh.
and raiment to put on,
Uh-huh.
so that I come again to my father's house in peace,
Uh-huh.
then shall the Most High be my power.
Then shall the Most High be his. From this point on, when the Most High fulfilled that vow that Jacob gave with him, that's when Jacob was like, all right, Most High's with me. All right, I'm gonna serve, I'm gonna obey, I'm gonna walk in his path. I'm gonna do what he need me to do. And the Most High built a stronger relationship with Jacob from here. So let's go right back. If you didn't know that, write it down. Write it down. Genesis 28, verse 20.
Remember, I know the cap mentioned that, a couple of back, we are supposed to have a notebook and pen and be writing down the precepts, as we go through the portion.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 5 again. And now thy two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee into Egypt, are mine.
Mm-hmm.
As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine.
They should be mine. Go ahead.
And thy issue, which thou begettest after them, shall be thine.
So he said, any children that you have after Ephraim and Manasseh, that's yours. But these two, they're going to be counted as my direct sons from this point on. So we had Genesis chapter 48. Now we had verse 6. Go ahead.
And shall be called after their name of their children in their inheritance. Just to add a little fact, on the map of the nation of Israel, Ephraim and Manasseh, they're mentioned. So what about Jacob's other grandchildren? From, for example, Simeon, Judah, Naphtali, and Zebulun. You don't see like a territory with their name on it.
You don't see the land of Kohath
Mm-hmm.
or Merari or anything like that. Mm-hmm.
And as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan,
Mm-hmm.
in the way, when yet there was but a little way to come unto Ephraim. And I buried her there in the way of Ephraim, the same as Bethlehem. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons, and said, who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, they are my sons, whom the Most High hath given me in this place.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age.
So what does it mean when his eyes were dim? What does that mean? What does it mean when the scripture say that his eyes was dim? Getting weak. Because how old is Jacob during this time? About 100 and what? 147 years old during this time, yeah. So in these times,
That's a lot of years.
people start losing their eyes, having high pressure at what age? By age 50, 60 years old.
That's crazy.
People finish by that age. Go ahead.
Even when he went to back to Egypt, when the Pharaoh asked him, he was like, he telling me to say his forefather lived longer than him.
Right.
Yeah.
So that also teaches you what? What was Abraham and Isaac teaching Jacob? All that history. For him to do the hand under the thigh, like Abraham, he was being taught by his father. Like, this is how you make or do vows. He was being taught. All these things are showing you how they pass on this information. Like our children, they should be aware of certain things that we do. We got to make sure we
Right,
pass it on and teach it to them. Because how did Noah know about the flood? How did Noah know about sacrifice, clean and unclean? He's a direct descendant from Adam. These things were being passed down to each generation. So go ahead.
Mhm.
so that he could not see.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them,
Mm-hmm.
and embraced them. And Israel said unto Joseph, I had not thought to see thy face, and lo, the Most High hath showed me also thy seed.
Mm-hmm.
And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand, toward Israel's left hand,
Mm-hmm.
and Manasseh in his left hand,
Mm-hmm.
toward Israel's right hand.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought them near unto him.
Mm-hmm.
And Israel stretched out his right hand, and laid upon Ephraim's head.
So Ephraim was supposed to be under Jacob's left hand. Manasseh was supposed to be towards the right hand. Why did Joseph have this in mind? Who's older, Ephraim or Manasseh? No, it's Manasseh.
Oh, Manasseh.
So who's actually supposed to get the greater and more splendid blessing? Manasseh, because he's the oldest. Just like how Esau originally, he was supposed to get all that blessing that Isaac gave Jacob.
Mhm.
But he dropped the ball. We had to pick it,
Right.
you know, NFL style, and take the blessing. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Who was the younger,
Mm-hmm.
in his left hand upon Manasseh's head,
Mm-hmm.
guiding his hands wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
And he blessed Joseph and said, The Most High, for whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the Most High, which fed me all my life, long unto this day,
Mm-hmm.
the angel which redeemed me from all evil. Bless the last,
Mm-hmm.
and let my name be named on them.
So this is the blessing that he's giving them. From this point on, they're reckoned as one of the 12 tribes of Israel now.
Mhm.
Ephraim and Manasseh. Go ahead.
In the name of my fathers
Mhm.
Abraham
Mm-hmm.
and Isaac,
Mm-hmm.
and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. And he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people. He also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he.
So why did he say that Ephraim will be greater? What do we notice about the Ephraimites later on, and when we get into the history?
Powerful, man.
They become powerful, but what's so fruitful? What else? What's so significant about Ephraim?
They come and shine with another.
They became the head tribe of the northern kingdom.
Mhm.
The rulers from the northern kingdom came all, like majority of them came for all Ephraim, unless they were being assassinated by another northern kingdom tribe. Who was the ruler for the southern kingdom? Judah.
Mhm.
Now, you know, not to go into it too much before we get to the next chapter. When you look at who's the front man for the southern kingdom, who really set the trends and etc., set like who make the other tribes in the southern kingdom follow after, it's Judah. Now, when you look at for the northern kingdom, who's everybody mimicking and following? It's Ephraim.
Mhm.
They follow after Ephraim, the style of the music, the dress code, the trends, all of that. I believe one of the most popular artists right now is from Puerto Rico, right? Bad Bunny, right?
Yeah.
He's the most popular artist right now of the northern kingdom, and he's Ephraim.
Mhm.
So let's go back.
But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he,
Mm-hmm.
and his seed shall become a multitude of nations.
Mm-hmm.
And he blessed them that day, saying,
Mm-hmm.
Indeed shall Israel bless, saying, Most High make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, Behold, I die, but the Most High shall be with you,
Mm-hmm.
and bring you again unto the land of your fathers.
Uh-huh.
Moreover, I have given to thee one portion above thy brother.
So let's stop right there. Let's get Genesis 15:13 again. So pay attention to what Jacob just told Joseph in verse 21. And Israel said unto Joseph, behold, I die, but Yahweh shall be with you and bring you again into the land of your fathers. What did Jacob know? What did he understand? Because the land of their fathers is what? The land of Canaan. The Most High promised that land of Canaan. So what was Jacob taught growing up? That one day they're all going to be where? In nation in the land of Canaan. Who taught him this? Abraham. Let's read the account.
Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs,
Which is Egypt. Go ahead.
and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
No, we're getting the part of serving when we do our agriculture, when we're cultivating, doing things for the Egyptians there. But are they afflicting us as of yet? So that part hasn't happened yet. Go ahead.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge.
Did the Most High judge Egypt yet?
No.
He said, Khan. I'm about to say, when that happened?
Right.
He said, Khan. Go ahead.
And
afterwards, said he what?
shall they come out with great substance.
That's it, right?
That's it.
So he'll come out and deliver us, and we'll go back into the land of our fathers. Jacob, they let you know Jacob was hearing this growing up. He heard this from his fathers. And now Joseph knows this. Don't you understand that what Levi, Simeon, Reuben, they all heard this growing up. They all did, just like when you're
Well, how do you know, what are the signs that a nation has been judged?
what is the signs?
Yeah, because you asked them and they was like, not yet. And I remember watching a documentary that they was, when they went and robbed them tombs, and some bad things happened to them, and they was going to some people, these explorers, tomb raiders they called them. But they went on to speak about Egypt, and they talk about the Jews, how they was in captivity over there. But they were saying about how Egypt fell from grace. They used to run everything, but they're not as powerful they used to be.
Let's get the prophecy in line. Get Ezekiel 29:13. Get Ezekiel 29:13. There's many ways the Most High could judge a nation. One of the most popular ways he did in the Exodus, he judged them with nature, right? He used locusts, pestilence, the plagues, right? And crippled their economy, right? What he's going to do to America, he's going to judge them with warfare. The other nations burn America on fire with ICBM missiles. That's an example of a nation being judged. Babylon, he used another nation, Persia, to come in and destroy and take out Babylon for being in power. So there's many different methods the Most High uses to judge a nation. He could use another nation, he could use some divine way of doing it, or he could use nature, some way of nature to judge a nation. So what happened with Egypt is it's crazy, because it's the same thing that's going to happen to America. The reason why the Most High judged Egypt, and Egypt is no longer ever will be a superpower, is because of us. We're going to see why I say that. Ezekiel 29:13. Let's get that prophecy on what happened.
Ezekiel chapter 29, verse 13.
Go ahead.
It does say of the Most High Power, at the end of 40 years, will I gather the Egyptians from the people where they were scattered.
Because the Egyptians were scattered out of their land. The Nile, the people that was south of the Nile River today. Go ahead.
And will bring again the captivity of Egypt.
They're going to be judged. They'll bring again the captivity. Go ahead.
And I will cause them to return into the land of Pathros, into the land of their habitation. And they shall be there a base kingdom.
They're going to be a what?
A base kingdom.
That they're going to fall down for being a world superpower. Nobody really talk about Egypt no more. The only people that talk about Egypt now and exalt Egypt, what people on earth exalt Egypt? Not really Edom.
Historians.
No, we exalt Egypt.
The Kemet's.
Right? So who's the Kemet's?
Yeah.
We're the one that say Egypt is this magnificent. The Egyptians don't even believe that no more. They gave up.
Right.
So the Most High said there will be a base kingdom. Go ahead.
And it shall be the basis of the kingdom.
Not only is it going to be a base, it's going to be the basis of kingdoms. Nobody's going to care about Egypt. Egypt not going to have nothing going on. No major exports. Not known for warfare anymore. No world superpower. Nothing anymore. They're going to be the basis of basis kingdom. Irrelevant. Go ahead.
Neither shall it exalt itself any more above the nation.
Now, is it ever going to be a world power again? Is Egypt a world power? No, never happened again. After the Most High sent Egypt. Go ahead.
For I will diminish them, that they shall not rule over the nations. And it shall be no more the confidence.
Now, this is why he did it. So, for this purpose, go ahead.
Of the house of Israel.
It's nowhere going to be the confidence for the who?
Of the house of Israel.
We're not going to be able to be like, oh yeah, man, we could just go back to Egypt. They're the top dogs. They run everything. We're not going to lean on Egypt no more. The Most High did that to Egypt, so we'll see. There's nowhere we can run. We can't run to them. We're supposed to go to the Most High. Just like we make America our confidence, our strength. When our people want to get out of order, they just come to America. When our women want to be out of order, they come to America. When our brothers want to be in foolishness, listen to these gay Kevin Samuels and all that nonsense, hey, we could do that in America. Most High going to take that all away. When he take all that away, who the only person you can run to now is him. So go ahead.
Which bringeth their iniquity to remembrance, when they shall look after them, for they shall know that I am the Most High God.
So he judged Egypt. He's making sure that it never be a superpower again. This is why it happened, because we lean too much on Egypt.
Right.
Even when we get to the Exodus, when we leave Egypt, you're going to see the spirit behind our people. Every single thing, every time something bad happened, and who's in Egypt, man?
Right, yeah.
Okay, I had the grill, the lasagna,
The leaks,
like the leaks.
the watermelon.
What was that? Hooks? The season hooks.
The flesh pots.
The flesh pots. The oil pots. That's what we gonna say in New England. You know what this is? The oil pots. Remember when they used to pour all that chicken in the oil, and the way it just smelled, man, when the Arabs cooked it, man. The Most High did all of that so we won't have that mentality. So this is a prophecy why Egypt never rose back up again, and why it will always be down again. So let's go right back.
Genesis chapter 48, verse 22. Moreover, I have given to thee one portion above thy brethren, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow. Genesis chapter 49, verse 1.
We'll stop right there. You go ahead and explain a little bit of Genesis right now.
Explain it a little bit. We're about to read Genesis the 49th chapter, because Jacob is going to give blessings as well as prophecies. You know, some of them are double fold to his sons. But the things that he tells his sons have more to do with their descendants and what's going to happen in the lives of their descendants throughout the ages. So that's and it's also a key important chapter, how we determine what happened to them, how we are the Israelites, man, like and where are they today? Genesis chapter 49, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last day.
So in Genesis 49, he said, Genesis 49 is so very important because it lets you know who are your people and who are your enemies. Because our people, we just intermingle with everybody.
Right.
But this is my brother. This is my people. Everybody is not your people. Everybody is not your brother. And it's very important for us to know that. Give me Sirach 12 and 10 real quick. Sirach 10. Because even the scriptures say you never trust your enemy. The scriptures tell you that. You don't know who your enemy is. If you don't know who your family is, who your friends is, you won't be able to tell the difference between them and your enemies. So Genesis 49, in layman's terms, lets you know who's your family and who's not your family. Who's your kindred and who's your enemy. Who is anointed and who is the cursed. So let's go ahead and read that. And it helps you be able to relate to these tribes. It helps you understand your brothers a little bit better, your sisters, and help you relate to your fellow Israelites. Go ahead.
Sirach chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy.
What does the scripture say?
Never trust thine enemy.
But if you don't know who your family and your friends is, you're going to mistake them for your enemies. Really, that's your kin. Go ahead.
For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
So start. Give me Sirach 6 and 13. Sirach 6 and 13. Scripture say, never trust your enemies. That's what's wrong with our people. Our people, they think, because the white man, you could dance and sing like Robin Thicke. This another guy, man. I forgot his name. It's John Michael B or something like that.
John B.
John B. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
They think a Jewish white boy that could sing like John B.
Right.
Right? Just because he could sing and hit
Harry
the
Styles.
Harry Styles, hit the notes. That's the Israelite. No, that's the devil the Bible speak of. He's just a devil that can sing.
Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke. Right? No. We have to know who the 12 tribes are so we'll be able to separate ourselves from these people. Go ahead. Sirach 6 and 13.
Sirach chapter 6, verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
Separate thyself from thine enemy.
Separate thyself from my enemy, read.
And take heed of thy friends.
And take heed to thy friends. Thy friends is your fellow Israelites. Your brother is your fellow Israelite. Your sister is your fellow Israelite. Your mother, your father are all your fellow Israelites. Because what happens when we intermingle too much nations? What happens when we keep trying to hold on? We pick up their ways, and what happens to us a lot of times too?
We fall into idolatry.
We fall into idolatry. What happens? You see it happen to us in America.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times what happens to us in America when we're too close to so-called white man and Asians and Arabs, what happens?
We start like hating on people.
Start hating on people, don't get shot. All right? Just because you want to be with this hillbilly's daughter, the hillbillies catch you at the gas station, now you're on the pole. Right? Death comes, pestilence comes, judgment comes.
Another point. What happens when, like I say, a brother, marries an Arab woman? What happens when you go to him and say, well, the Arabs, they mistreat our people? They're gonna say, well, that's my family.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is Arab. My children, they have Arab. They're gonna identify with that culture. They're gonna identify and take for that people. That's why the Most High God. What did He say when we was about to enter the land of Canaan? Don't do what?
Marriage with them.
Why?
Because they're gonna turn your heart away from the Most High.
You got a Canaanite wife. You're gonna be like, man,
Yeah.
come on.
Right.
That's my real.
Right.
Let them do their thing, and then we're gonna do our thing. Because once you intermarry with them, once you mingle with them, once you become friends with them, you're not gonna want to separate from them. You're gonna want to become one people.
Right. And there's a big thing on YouTube. These Jakes. They call them quote unquote passport bros. When they're going overseas to look for heathen wives. Yeah, it's a big thing, man. It's like they want to disenfranchise themselves away from the modern American woman trying to go overseas to find heathen women in different countries.
All of that is wickedness because when you approach a Jake and say, you see what happened in the news, how they're treating our people, they're gonna say, what do you mean our people? White people is my people too. Chinese people are my people too. So that's why the Most High God warned us to separate from the nations, because we're gonna intermingle with them and we're gonna be a part of them and we're gonna neglect our people by nature.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go. Genesis 49, start from verse 1.
Genesis 49 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
So we know that the sons, Judah, is he alive today? Is he Judah? He's alive today?
But you mean the person? No.
Is Ephraim alive today?
No.
Manasseh, is he alive today? So what is Jacob telling his sons? Give me that I believe in the GNT. It actually tells you what's that word for the last days. Okay. Give me Genesis 49. What's he saying? Because they're not alive today. Where's the man Levi at? Is he cooking tasso somewhere? Where is he? So what is he telling his sons? What's going to happen to them when? What would happen to the descendants? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen to the descendants in the last days? So, you got that? Go ahead. Genesis 49.
Genesis 49 and 1.
In the GNT. Go ahead.
Jacob called for his sons and said, gather around, and I will tell you what will happen to you in the future.
In the what?
In the future.
In the future, what would happen to you? What would happen to your descendants? What conditions that they would be in? Where would they be at? How would you be able to identify them? Because as a people, right now, a lot of us were separated from each other. The Jamaicans look at the Haitians, okay, they speak Creole, Kumpa, they listen to reggae, Jaja, they're not the same people. Right? Ephraim look at Judah, this is Moreno. Judah look at Ephraim, this is Chicos. We're not the same people. We're separated as a people. But these things right here in this chapter, we'll go over the other books too, is going to be able to help us glue ourselves back together. Okay, we're one family, one people under Hamashiach Yahushua. So before we get that, let's get Revelation 7 and 1. Revelation 7 and 1. And a lot of our people, they try to knock off the 12 tribes chart. Try to say false, it was man-made, but a lot of the things that the scriptures say, it goes hand in hand with the people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 3 books that give us a clear indication, 4 books that give us a clear indication of who the children of Israel are, and the tribes, is Deuteronomy chapter 28. It lets you know overall who the children of Israel are. Genesis 49:30 and Deuteronomy 3 tells you which tribe is which and why. Revelation 7 pinpoints geographically where they would be in these last days. So we're going to read that first. Let's get Revelation 7 and verse 4. We're going to share something with the family on the YouTube that's watching right now. We're going to have the maps up.
Revelation chapter 7, verse.
You got it. Give me 1 second. We're putting up the maps right now for the family. Go ahead.
Revelation 7 and 4.
Uh-huh.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000
God.
of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
All the tribes of the children of Israel, go ahead.
Which were sealed. Of the tribe of Judah
Uh-huh.
were sealed 12,000.
Uh-huh.
Of the tribe of Reuben
Mm-hmm.
were sealed 12,000.
Mm-hmm.
Of the tribe of Gad were sealed
So
12,000.
stop. So when we look at how Revelation 7, the 7th chapter is written down, does anybody notice anything about the order the tribes are being numbered?
Going by the head tribe.
You sure?
Yeah, it's a Judah first.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I know you know. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Anybody else want to give it a try? Is it going in the order of their birth?
No.
What order is it going by?
The location in which they'll be like together.
Exactly. The geographical location where they would be at together. So when we look at Judah, where's Judah found at predominantly?
North America.
In North America, in the United States. Now, before the so-called white man really, came over, who else was with Judah over here? Predominantly of the 12 tribes.
Gad and Reuben.
Gad and Reuben. Who's Gad and Reuben? Native Americans. Start from verse 4 again.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000
Mm-hmm.
of all tribes of the children of Israel.
All right.
Of the tribe of Judah
Mm-hmm.
were sealed 12,000.
Uh-huh.
Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000.
All right.
Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000.
And where do you find them at? In North America. All three of these tribes are predominantly found where? In the North America. All right, let's continue.
Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000.
All right.
Of the tribe of Naphtali
Mm-hmm.
were sealed 12,000.
Now, when you look at South America, what tribes is predominantly in South America together? When you look at, I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela,
Right.
Brazil, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, what tribes is that?
Yes.
Naphtali.
Yeah.
That's a tribe of Asher. Chile
That's it.
and Argentina, what tribe is that? Chile and Argentina, what tribe is that? I know you don't know yet. Break it down for you. You look at me like, what you talking about? What tribe is that? Chile and Argentina.
Naphtali.
It's Naphtali. And just like how Revelation ordered them together, we find them right here. These two tribes right here together in South America. Go ahead.
Manasseh
Uh-huh.
were sealed 12,000.
Uh-huh.
Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000.
Uh-huh.
Of the tribe of Levi 12,000.
Now Simeon and Levi, who's Simeon and Levi?
Dominican
The Dominican.
and Haiti.
Now, just like I was listed together,
Right.
these two tribes are listed together. The only two tribes that's listed, the only Southern Kingdom tribe, Northern Kingdom tribe that's cohabiting the same place in the Americas is who's Dominicans and Haitians. So by default, they would have to be, one of them has to be Simeon and Levi. By default, go ahead.
Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000.
Who's Issachar?
Mexican.
The Mexican man, in Mexico, go ahead.
Right.
Of the tribe of
When
Zebulun
you look at Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Panama, read,
were sealed 12,000.
that would be Zebulun. And you see Issachar and Zebulun right next to who?
Mm-hmm.
Each other. Historically, they did trade routes with each other too. So we see that in how the way it's ordered in Revelation 7, it's telling us predominantly where these tribes will be and which tribe will be close relations with. So let's go right back.
Of the tribe of Joseph was 12,000.
And in the tribe of Joseph, who's Joseph? Ephraim and who? So when you look at places like Puerto Rico predominantly, what two indigenous groups was there in Puerto Rico? Predominantly. One of them is Boricua. That's the most famous and recognized. You go ahead and talk about Taino. And the Taino Indians, which is not has known amongst them. They'll be together. The children of Joseph will be together. So
Of the tribe of Benjamin was still 12,000.
That's it. Okay, and then you have the so-called Indians and etc. all together in the Caribbean. So let's go right back in Genesis 49.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
Gather yourselves together,
Mm-hmm.
and hear ye, sons of Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
and hearken unto Israel your father.
Mm-hmm.
Reuben,
Uh-huh.
thou art my firstborn.
Reuben. It says that Reuben is his firstborn. The Reubenites will be who? You just gave the answer already. If you want a visual aid, you could be on the YouTube, and you'll see visual aids on the YouTube. Reuben will be the Seminole Indians. Will be Reuben. That came from all the way from the Everglades, the Keys, all the way up to Tallahassee and up. Will be the Seminole Indians will be Reuben. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
My might
Mm-hmm.
and the beginning of my strength,
Uh-huh.
the excellency of dignity.
So the excellency of dignity. When you look how the so-called Seminole Indians are doing themselves, they're doing themselves in what? In a royal-like fashion. With their breastplates and their garments, the meat trees with the feathers. They're the only ones that did that, correct me if I'm wrong. They adorn themselves this way. God didn't adorn themselves the way they did. They look like some princes off a textbook. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not really a coincidence that the college team is here in Florida, FSU,
Right.
Seminoles.
Right. So go ahead.
And the excellency of power.
The excellency of power. What were the Seminole Indians known for their battle, the way they fight in battle? When they had I believe this first, second, and third Seminole War, they rebelled against Esau. When you had a lot of Native Americans like the Cherokee, I believe Sioux is that as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Sioux, the Blackfoot Indians, and a lot of them gave up the fight.
Okay.
A lot of them folded. But the Seminole Indians, they kept on fighting so much until Esau just had to get rid of them. When you look in Florida, do you see them?
Rarely.
You see them. And at one point, they filled up to Florida. The same way you could go to Jamaica and you see Jamaicans predominantly left and right, is the same way you should be able to come to Florida, left to right, you see predominantly Seminole Indians. And they were known for the battles in the scriptures. Let's get first 2 Chronicles 5 and 18. 2 Chronicles 5 and 18. I'll pull up more images on the YouTube with our Reubenite brothers. I remember Elder Polyp was the one who pointed this out. And the only ones that you really see with these meat trees, with these feathers and etc. The way and the breastplates that they have, these metal breastplates.
2 Chronicles chapter 5 verse
18.
18.
Oh, First Chronicles.
First Chronicles 5 and 18 is like it.
First Chronicles chapter 5 verse 18. The sons of Reuben
The sons of Reuben,
and the
the
Gadites
Gadites,
and the half tribe of Manasseh,
uh-huh.
valiant men,
They were what?
valiant men,
They were who?
valiant
They were valiant, excellency of power. Go ahead.
men able to bear buckler
Mm-hmm.
and sword.
So what were they known for? Them arrows,
Mm-hmm.
their clubs, or their swords, their shields, when they would go out and go battle, because they had these problems when they were fighting in the Everglades in Florida. Go ahead.
And to shoot with bow.
Shoot for what?
Bow.
So what is the indigenous people of the Americas known for? For what weapon they're known for? From all the other tribes, they're known for this. For that bow. They're snipers. Go ahead.
And skillful in war.
And skillful
In war. Were 40 and 4,703 score.
So let's go right back to Chronicles. So what about Reuben?
unstable as water,
But they will be what?
unstable as water, thou shalt not excel.
They will not excel. Why are they unstable as water? Anybody want to take a guess why they were unstable as water?
Water moves around a lot, so it's not really stable.
Okay, and what else? What happened? What else would happen to Reuben? Okay, so they were unstable as water. They'll be to and fro all over the place. Because they were predominantly here, what happened to them? They were either killed off or they were pushed out of Florida. Because what does the name Seminole mean? Anybody know what the name Seminole means? Anybody know what Seminole means? It has a lot. It's most I gave these names for a reason.
Okay.
I'm looking it up right now. I didn't add anything.
It means runaway, because when the Seminoles in the state of Florida, the United States government was trying to push the Native Indians west of the Mississippi. You ever heard of the Trader Tears? Yeah, they were pushing Native Americans west of the Mississippi because they did not want them in the eastern part of the United States. And the Seminole Indians did not want that. They were fighting the U.S. That's why you had the first and second Seminole War. They were fighting them, man. It went to the point where they migrated into the Everglades, and they were moving into different parts of the Everglades. That's why if you go south here in Miami, near Chrome, they got casino over there, right next to the Everglades, man. Because when they were fighting the U.S. government, they were moving throughout the Everglades and fighting them in combat, man. That's why a lot of them over there in that area, because Yaka's brother, he went to their yearly festival, and they hold, and he still see they over there right now, man, in that area.
That was in Mississippi.
It's right there.
Right.
Their little village is like I believe west, near the Everglades.
Right.
So when, actually have this actually work with visual aid. When you go into the name for Seminole Indians, it means wild people. The 700s is when Florida Indians collectively became known as Seminole, as meaning wild people or runaway, unstable as waters. So they'll be running away, they'll be fighting Esau, guerrilla warfare, run away into the Everglades. Esau gets stuck up in the swamps, beat Esau, and then they were out to the western Mississippi. All spiritual to let us know, okay, these people are the Seminole Indians. These people are the Reubenites. So let's go right back to Genesis 49.
Thou shalt not excel.
He said they will not what?
Excel.
Excel. So you barely see them. Go ahead.
Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed.
So what did Reuben do? What did Reuben?
See what the concubine.
He slept with his father's wife, which is what?
The concubine.
I know, which is what? He slept with his father's wife, his concubine, which is what? That would be considered what?
Adultery.
That would be adultery.
Yeah.
Right? He defiled his father's bed. This also shows you, before Jacob died, he didn't forget what? That his firstborn son slept with his woman.
Right.
He never forgot that.
You had to point that out.
This is over. It's probably 100 years later. He heard it. The scriptures tell you earlier. Jacob heard that he did it, and he didn't check him. And before he died, like, nigga, I remember that. Nigga, I remember that. And that's why you're not going to excel.
Right.
So, go ahead.
Simeon?
Stop. Let's get Deuteronomy 33 about Reuben as well. Go to Deuteronomy 33. Because in Deuteronomy 33, it sheds a little bit more light about each of these 12 tribes. So give me one. I think it's Deuteronomy 33. Verse 6. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy 33, verse 6. Let Reuben live.
What did the scripture say?
Let Reuben live.
Even though Reuben will not excel, even though he'll be unstable as waters, the scripture say, let him what?
Let Reuben live.
He still want to be one of the 12 tribes of Israel. He was numbered amongst the 12,000. That lets you know he's still going to be here. We don't see him. We don't see him a lot. He's unstable. He's all over the damn place. But Reuben is going to live. He still won't be here. There's a message to Reubenites. Go ahead.
And not die.
And not what?
And not die. Let not his men be few.
And let not his men be few. Meaning he'll still be a multitude of people. Now, if we see everybody always say that Judah. Everybody cannot be Judah.
Right.
Everybody cannot be Judah. Just like you have light skin, Northern Kingdom, you got dark skinned Northern Kingdom too. Some look just like us. You have dark skinned Levites or brown skinned Levites like myself and my brother right here, and then you have very light skinned Levites. They're still here. There's some brothers who stay there, Judah, but they're really just Reubenites and Gadites.
Yeah, because the thing is, if they wasn't here, then there wouldn't be no number 12,000.
There wouldn't be no 12,000.
Yeah,
That means there must be a
so they gotta be somewhere
considerable.
around, yeah.
There must be a considerable amount of Reubenites
Right.
for them to even have 12,000.
Exactly.
Dan don't even have 12,000 because there's not enough of them to be
Mhm.
reckoned at, to have 12,000 to represent them.
Right.
So
And one thing that one thing that separates the Reubenites or some of the Indians from other Native Americans on the Eastern Hemisphere, because they have something called the 5 great Native American Indians. Like the Cherokee is one, the Chickasaw is one, the Choctaw is one, and I believe there's 2 more that I don't remember. They're like less famous. Those are the top 3. The Seminole Indian never had black slaves. You ever heard of that? You ever heard that argument? Indians
No.
had Native Americans had black slaves.
Mm.
Because Esau, when they came to the United States, they tried to integrate their beliefs with Native Americans. That's why some Native Americans have English names. Because Esau wanted them to have their culture, and they also wanted so-called blacks, like Judites and stuff like that. They wanted to treat them bad and have them in slavery, right? The Seminole Indians, when they had blacks amongst them, they had them marry their daughters. They had them as chiefs. They had them in positions of power. Esau did not like that. That's why Esau initiated a war with them, because they had so-called blacks, like Black Americans, living in like good with them, not in a state of servitude.
right.
Yeah.
Let's go back and let's continue. All right, my sister said they helped them when the Judites was ran from slavery. A lot of the so-called Seminole Indians, they did take in Judah when they had them in captivity in a lot of these slave plantations. And they had them, in the Torah, when you were poor and you didn't have anything, a lot of times they say that the Reubenites had them in slavery and etc. No. In the Torah, because a lot of them, they kept the Torah. They had an understanding of the Torah, some kind of concept of the Torah. When you didn't have anything, you sell yourself as a servant or an employee until you build yourself rights to buy yourself out. So that's the type of servitude they had them do. But let's go right back to Genesis 49.
Verse 5. Simeon
Simeon and who?
Simeon and Levi.
Simeon, the so-called indigenous Dominicans of Dominican Republic. And who?
Our brethren.
And Levi, the Haitians, that come from Benin, Togo, Senegal, in the Congo, West Coast Africa. All right, go ahead.
Our brethren.
Are who?
Our brethren.
So why does the scripture stress that they're brethren? It has to do with Revelation 7, what we went over. Why does it say these 2 are brothers? All of them are brothers.
Right.
So why does it stress that these 2 are brothers? Is it saying that the other ones are aunties, or what is it saying?
They won't dwell together in the same
That they will
place.
dwell together.
Mm.
Look at the Dominican Republic and Haiti, they all cohabit Hispaniola, the same island.
Right.
That they'll be brethren. Go ahead.
Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations.
Instruments of cruelty is in their habitation. Talking about what goes on predominantly in these islands. So what is Hispaniola known for? Voodoo. Known for witchcraft and voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
The so-called Dominicans are known for practicing Santeria, which is the Northern Kingdom's version of witchcraft.
Right.
When you look at the images I'm putting up on YouTube right now, you'll see images of Santeria being done by the so-called Dominicans, are being practiced, and idolatry. Now, when you look at the so-called Haitians, they practice voodoo as well. And Haitians are well known for that. But that's not even an argument of who Levi is. They're known for the witchcraft that they're being. So much, when you look at even in the map, right, historically speaking, the most witchcraft was practiced in Africa where the Levites were found at, like in Benin, Togo, Senegal, etc. A lot of witchcraft, predominantly in Africa, is done in these areas. Coincidentally, that's where the Levites were taken and brought the slavery to Haiti. So Simeon and Levi will be brethren. They'll have instruments of cruelty, witchcraft be practiced in their islands. Go ahead.
O my soul, come not into their secret.
Come not into the secret. Go
into their assembly.
Uh-huh.
In mine honor,
Mm-hmm.
be not thou united.
So the Most High says that they're not going to be united. Even though these 2 tribes are brothers, they roll tight. They practice the same thing. They dance the same way. In some ways, they look alike. But what do you notice about Dominicans and Haitians? They always have what? They always have beef. That there's always conflict between the so-called Haitian man and the so-called Dominicans. They're never united. Because in ancient times, what happened when they were united in ancient times?
Oh,
Happened in Genesis.
they defended their sister Dinah,
And did what?
and
Let's go to Genesis chapter 34. Let's revisit this.
yeah,
Let's revisit this.
they defiled the sister Dinah. What's the guy name?
I want you to start from verse 24. Genesis 34:24. Let's revisit this.
34 verse 24.
34:24. Instruments of cruelties in their habitation. Now, not only that, when you look at the personality of the so-called Haitian man and Dominican man, we get very violent. Haitians, they'll wear the bowling shoes out there in the sun with the suits. They'll say, my friend, have a good day, my friend, and all of that. When you get them mad, that's when the machetes come out. That's when they have a couple of chickens waiting for you swinging in the room, and they have your picture on there trying to curse you into the 34th generation. Right? They have the opposite side of it too. They can be very nice, and then they could go very wicked very quickly. Go ahead.
And unto Hamor,
Uh-huh.
and unto Shechem,
And Shechem, these are Hamites. Go ahead.
his son, harped all that went out of the gate of his city.
So let's give a rundown real quick. So these Hamites, his son slept with one of the daughters of Jacob. I think it's Canaanite, if I remember correctly. Now, should Israelites intermingling with the Canaanites?
34.
Should they be intermingling with the Canaanites?
Love.
No. Remember, we got to go back to Abraham. Abraham let his servant know, I don't want my sons dealing with these Canaanites. So we wasn't allowed to deal with these Canaanites. There was no Israelite man for her to marry, but we damn sure wasn't allowed to deal with no Canaanites during this time.
Right.
So they got together, and it caused a problem. All right, go ahead.
And every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of the city.
So they told her, because you slept with our sister, if you want to marry her, all of your men got to be circumcised.
Right.
All right, what does it mean to be circumcised?
To cut off the foreskin.
To cut off the foreskin of the privy part. Now, ain't something anesthesia?
No.
Probably not mentioned, but I would think they had a way to do it.
No, they remember Joshua used what to cut the foreskins of our ancestors?
Stone?
The sword.
No, they used sharp rock.
Yeah.
So they put in your thing on a rock, and they got a sharp one to cut it off. That's what they were doing in ancient times. So this wasn't confounded, right? This wasn't a feel-good type of thing. It was sacred, but it wasn't a feel-good type of thing. So go ahead and continue reading.
And it came to pass on the third day,
On the third day, go ahead.
when they were sore,
When they were sore, they were hurting because there was no anesthesia.
that two of the
Uh-huh.
sons of
That
Jacob,
two of his sons, Levi and Simeon, go ahead.
Simeon and Levi,
Go ahead.
Dinah's brethren,
So
took each man his sword,
took each man's sword and did what?
and came upon the city boldly,
What? And did what?
and slew all the males.
And slew all the men. They killed all the men.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how many people was with them? Scriptures don't tell you it was 50. There were 50. It didn't say they were 100 deep. It said that they took their sword, went into that city, and then they went to work.
Right.
Have anybody ever seen an angry mob of Dominicans before? Our Simeon brothers are wearing tight pants. They're known for wearing tight pants. But that army of brothers in tight pants will have the machetes and put you to death. Have anybody ever seen an angry mob of Levites before? Look at the news is going on every day.
Right.
They still don't have a president yet.
Yeah.
People still can't get to certain parts of the country yet. They're still overthrowing and destroying and destabilizing them. Americans came in there. They're afraid now. Why do you think America won't allow these Haitians to come over here?
Right.
Why is that?
Because they know.
They already know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like Judah, they'll take a little beating here and there. Judah will stand up sometimes. But Levi not gonna take that. Levi gonna say, yo, my friend, like, we need to kill the blood. We need to come together and kill the blood. Yo, Jamaicans, my friends, we need to go get them. And they know that's the problem. There's a problem right here. So go ahead.
Keep going.
Go ahead, keep going.
I went back to 4.
Genesis 49. So they killed all of these Hamites and enslaved their children, just to give everybody a quick overview. So we got a lot of tribes to go over. We'll go right back. Go ahead.
O my soul, down into their secret,
Mm-hmm.
unto their assembly.
Uh-huh.
Mine honor, be not thou united.
So Jacob says, come not into their assembly, because my honor, and then be not thou united. They're not going to be on accord. This is why they put so much propaganda between the so-called Haitians and the Dominicans. I remember you could expound on the slaughter that the Dominicans did on the Haitians, I believe over 100 years ago.
They did you know that the island is divided, right? They did a slaughter on so-called Haitians, and they would do a test to see if they could pronounce certain Spanish words. You know, Levi don't speak that stuff.
Mm.
And if they pronounced it incorrect, they would kill them. You know,
Wow.
They did campaigns to kill people because they're both dark-skinned people. In Dominican Republic, you see them light skin, some light skin over here. But over there's a lot of dark-skinned Dominicans. So the way they would determine who's who, one way is to see if they could speak Spanish or not. And it would kill many Haitians on that side of the island.
Mm.
And even today, a couple years ago, Dominican Republic passed a law because you'll say, well, they both live on the island, right? So they intermarry. You don't know who's Levi, you don't know who's Simeon. In the Dominican Republic, if your father, or great-grandfather is Haitian, you're Haitian. And they don't give you citizenship. It doesn't matter if you go over there, marry a Dominican woman, have children, that child's still considered a Haitian.
That goes back to the Torah, too.
Yeah, it does. And they do not give them Dominican citizenship. You feel me? So that's why they're still deporting people who have been born and lived generations in Dominican Republic. They speak Spanish, they know nothing of it, and they're sending them over there in Haiti, saying you're Haitian.
Mm.
Your great-great-great-grandfather was Haitian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They deport them to Haiti.
That's wicked as hell.
Instruments of cruelty should be an habitation. So this goes back to what Jacob was telling us, how the condition that they will be in, the type of mentality they will have.
So let me ask you a question: are the people in Dominican, I'm just saying, I know it's not mentioned. I don't really see them playing over here. Do they have anything together over there like that?
No. It's so much poverty. A lot of the women, Dominican Republic is known for prostitution. When you hear brothers over here talking about, I say brothers, I mean from the world, of course. When they say, I'm going to DR, that really means is I'm going to go out there and go prostitute these women, and then come back here to my wife that I barely pay any mind to. Mm-hmm. So they're in poverty as well, but it's not as bad as Haiti. And we're going to go into why Haiti's the way it is too. Further than people are the Levites. Go ahead.
And on top of that too, when you look at migration and stuff like that, they do come over here like that. It's just like the population of Dominicans in South Florida isn't as high. When you go to New York is filled with what?
Yeah.
Dominicans. When you go to New Jersey, New Jersey is filled with what? Dominicans. When you go to Maryland, it's filled with what? Dominicans, man. It's just they choose to migrate to certain parts of the United States, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Strange. Go ahead.
Come on. For verse 6.
Mm-hmm.
For in their anger,
Mm-hmm.
they slew a man.
They slew a man. They slew him in all the men of his city. Go ahead.
And in their self-will, they dig down a wall.
Uh-huh.
Cursed be their anger.
Cursed be their what?
Cursed be their anger.
Go ahead.
For it was fierce. And their wrath, for it was cruel.
Go ahead.
I will divide them in Jacob.
So he said that he would divide them in Jacob. Who's the them that will be divided in Jacob? Who's the them?
Them two. Oh.
Who's the them?
Levi and Simeon. Wait, what?
Who's the them that will be divided in Jacob? Who's divided in Jacob?
Oh, northern and southern kingdom. No.
Who's the them that will be divided in Jacob? Because you'll see in Issachar, you'll see them in Issachar. In the land of Naphtali, over in Chile, because a lot of them is coming over here in America from Chile.
Levi.
They'll be Levi. When you look at who's amongst all 12 tribes, you always see Levi amongst them.
Yeah.
Always. In the border of Mexico, when that whole conflict with Mexico was going on, you had a lot of so-called Haitians in Mexico that only speak Creole. Because we just came from there. He was letting me know, these guys don't even speak Creole. They just speak Spanish. That's all they know. Come in the midst of each of the 12 tribes. When you look at ancient map of ancient Israel, who do you say have a land?
The Levites.
Who are they amongst?
All the tribes.
They were amongst all 12 tribes of Israel, and it's no different to what you see to this day.
Yeah.
Like we have relatives in Brazil, we have friends from Chile, there's Levites in Venezuela. Some of my students at work, they're coming from Chile. That's all the way southwest, South America. I didn't know what the hell nation was.
Wow.
The Most High said that He would divide them amongst Jacob. Go ahead.
And scattered them in Israel.
And scattered them in Israel. Go ahead.
Judah.
That's it. Let me get Deuteronomy 33. Let's go into depth. I want you to start from Deuteronomy 33 and verse 8.
Verse 8. And of Levi he said, let thy Thummim and thy Urim be with thy Holy One, whom thou didst prove at Massa, and with whom thou didst strive at the waters of Meribah, who said unto his father and to his mother.
I want you to read it in the NLT. I'm going to let you read it from right here in the NLT, like how it's written. Go ahead. Verse 8.
Deuteronomy 33 and 8. Moses said this about the tribe of Levi. O the Most High, you have given your Thummim and your Urim the sacred locks.
Now, what's the Urim and Thummim? What's the Urim and Thummim? Everybody want to take a guess what Urim and Thummim is? Something that the priest had.
The stones, they use to decide, to make decisions.
Decisions. So it's decision with who? Who gives the decision? So what is its significance? It's a connection to who? To the Most High. So the Most High says, let your Urim and Thummim, in the NLT, the same, to your faithful servants, the Levite, that they still have a connection with the Most High God. Even though in the cursed state, there's still a high connection with them in the Most High God. Go ahead.
The sacred. So your faithful servants, the Levites, you put them to the test at Massa.
So how did the Most High test the Levites at Massa? Anybody remember? What happened after doing the golden calf for Aaron and Moses? How did he put them to test? When Moses came out, he destroyed the golden calf. I'm giving the hints.
Well, the majority of the Levites sided with Moses.
They didn't say the majority. The whole tribe stood up and went on Moses' side.
Yeah.
Right? So they did that. What did that show them? What did that say to the Most High about them? What did that say? It went aligned to what I was talking about last week about compromising and etc. Last week. If you watched the service last week, you would have the answer. What did that show the Most High? When everybody was going off, Moses said, "Whoever's on the side of the Most High, get up." As a tribe, they got up and went with Moses. Unity. They showed unity, but what else? Most importantly, they showed what to the Most High?
They showed
what did they show to the Most High? Most important. They showed loyalty to the Most High. All right? They showed, even though that their friends probably see family doing this and going on, when they stood up and went to Moses, they showed the Most High, we with you. We down with you. We down with your business. They showed the Most High a high level of loyalty to the Lord's business. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So your faithful servants, the Levites, put them to test at Massa and struggled with them at the waters of Meribah. The Levites obeyed your word and guarded your covenant.
Guarded
your covenant. And they were more loyal to you than to their own parents.
Go ahead. I can hear you smiling in the background. Go ahead.
They were more loyal to you than to their own parents. They ignored their relatives and did not acknowledge their own children.
So what happened in Meribah and Massa? It has a lot to do with this. After they went on Moses' side, what happened? What was the instruction given?
Oh, killed those who opposed.
They killed everybody who opposed.
Yeah.
It's like the Most High said, "Yo, Shem, I want you to go kill your brother and sister. I want you to go kill your homeboy and your homeboy that's serving all these idols." And they went out and go do it. That shows the type of mentality that they have. Look at so-called Haitians, right? They have like a very headstrong spirit, especially when they're serving the Most High God, right? Whereas in Christianity, they're really just this. And they really stress this on their children. They really stress this. If you want to go out and be a drug dealer, guess what? You won't be a drug dealer, but you're not going to be where? You're not going to be here. They're not going to compromise on that.
All
Right? Especially in this word. You know, they're not going to compromise. I believe a lot of these Levites are not Levites. There are other tribes amongst us. Because there's a mentality that they have that a lot of people do not have. So they show the Most High like royalty, zeal, and etc. Go ahead. Go ahead and continue where you left off in the KJV.
Verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
They shall teach Jacob thy judgments and Israel thy law.
So they was teaching Jacob. Give me Deuteronomy 18:5. So the Most High said that they will teach Jacob the instruction, his law, and etc. When we got into the land of Israel, but really in the wilderness, this is when this came to pass. That they would teach the law. They were the ones that were supposed to administer the Torah, teach the people the law, statute, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. Right? Though that they don't do right now, these things should be start being established more because we are very taxed. Go ahead.
For the Most High thy power hath chosen him out of all thy tribes to stand to minister in the name of the Most High. Him and his sons.
So this is talking about the descendants of Aaron, the Levites, how they would have to teach the law. So just, you know, just all new to you, brother. I remember you asked us this question like a minute ago about how we know which tribe is which. When you go into the scriptures, the Levites are the ones that were to act over the priests. When you read about Ezekiel, Aaron, high priest Eli, etc., they were alive today. They would be so-called Haitians, etc. Let's go right back to where we are in Deuteronomy 33.
They shall teach Jacob thy judgments and Israel thy law. They shall put incense before thee and hold burnt sacrifice upon thine altar. Bless the Most High his substance and accept the work of his hands. Smite.
Stop. So this goes into what was going on in history in the land of Hispaniola because of time, and we gotta make sure we finish before the 3 o'clock. What was Haiti known during the time of the French when the French was an empire and there was a superpower? What were they known for producing in Haiti? Coffee and what? Sugar. They at one point outproduced the world in coffee production and sugar production at one point. Right now they have something called I believe it's called idonium or iridium, a very precious metal that's predominantly found in Haiti. That Haiti outproduced the world in right now. But of course, America's not going to let them mine it and benefit from it. But they outproduced the world in coffee and sugar production. Right, during the time of the French was the ones that was running everything. Go ahead.
Smite through the loins of them that rise against him, and of them that hate him, that they rise not again.
So what is this talking about? What is this referring to? Smite through the loins of him that hate him, that they don't rise up again. What does this have to do with the so-called Haitian man in this history? Friends.
Them being the world superpower, and then after the whole revolution that they had against them, they never rose up to being the world superpower.
They never rose up again. Who talks about France? France is a joke right now. And it's slaves did this. Slaves defeated them. And then because they were defeated, that caused them to do what in America? They lost a majority of their lands doing the.
God, you ever heard of the Louisiana Purchase? They sold all of that land for nothing.
Because of that, defeat was so devastating to them when slaves were able to beat them. So this is what the scripture talking about when he smite through the loins, because they never rose up again. Just like how the scriptures talk about this so-called Haitians. Even when you look into the people like the Maroons, etc., these are all descendants of the same people, and etc. A lot of times, our people, we look at. We don't use logic or we don't go into history. We go into the lands of Jamaica and etc. The Maroons live completely separate from the rest of the inhabitants of the land of Jamaica. Completely, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw something on one of the social media. They say that the Maroons, like, they go to Haiti and taught them like warfare and stuff like that.
Right.
Which pushed the revolution in Haiti.
Right. They're very separate from the rest of the population of Jamaica. There's actually a descendant. You remember the brother from yesterday at camp? The Benjamin brother that we spoke to in Sakari. He's actually I believe he's a Maroon if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
This brother's a Maroon. And they're completely banned from intermingling with the rest of the population of Jamaica. They're not allowed, they're supposed to go to their own schools, completely separate. Just like how the Moses said he will divide them in Jacob. How you have pockets of Levites in Mexico, pockets of Levites in Chile, Brazil, Canada, Trinidad, and even in Jamaica, and etc. So let's go ahead and continue.
That is it.
Oh, you gotta go back.
Okay, let's go right now. Genesis 49.
There was one more thing you're gonna put on Malachi?
No, because of time.
Okay,
That's
so
fine. Go ahead.
verse 8. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise.
Now we got to Judah. Who's Judah? Everybody know him. Judah. Everybody know who Judah is. Who's Judah? Who's Judah today?
Black American.
The so-called Black Americans, right? And a lot of them is in the Gambia, the Mandinka, and a lot of them is the Gullah Geechee in West Coast of Africa, and predominantly well known in Nigeria, the Igbo, right? These people will be the Judites. So let's see what he says about the Judites. Go ahead.
Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemy.
So it says that his hand should be at the neck of his enemy, not he will be at the neck of his enemy. His hand should be at the neck of his enemy. How is Judah hand at the neck of his enemy? How is Judah at the neck of his enemy? When you look at society, right?
Mm-hmm.
How's Judah at the neck of his enemy?
Working for him?
How? We all work for them, but what's specific about Judah? We look at status and position wise. What you notice about Judah, you don't look at the tribes, the other tribes predominantly. No, when these things help you be able to relate to them better when you're out there to make that connection.
Like the trendsetters.
No, we're not there yet.
Okay.
Like how they're able to succeed, like to a certain extent.
Right. See, when you look at some of the senators, you got Judite senators, Judite mayors, Judite generals, Judite captains in the military, Judite CEOs. They're all up in there at the neck of their enemy. Because should they be up there? No. Esau was supposed to have another white man up there. Anything supposed to have an Arab up there. They're right up there because you see Benjamin's predominantly up there. Right up there with Esau. When Esau looked down, Judah's right there. Do you see Levi up there? Issachar up there? Naphtali? No. You see Judah up there. Go ahead.
Thy father's children shall bow down before thee.
So that goes into them being the head tribe, right? The forefront man.
Mm-hmm.
So it says his children shall bow down to thee. How is the children of Jacob bowing down to Judah? How? If anybody remember the Black Panther movie, it goes into that too. There's a scene that is scripture with that part. Anybody seen the Black Panther movie? Wakanda Forever?
It's been a while. I ain't see it.
That one just came out. Nobody seen Wakanda? Nobody seen Wakanda Forever?
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene when the sisters fighting the Northern Kingdom brother. That was representing the Southern and Northern Kingdom.
Yeah.
And she had the spear at his neck, and she made him submit, and etc. That goes into right here. Right? How they're going to have to submit to Judah, follows after Judah's lead. So not only that, but who's the kings? Judah.
Yeah.
The ultimate king and the best revolution is going to come from what tribe? Judah, Hamashiach Yahushua. This is how the other tribes are going to bow down to Judah.
Mm-hmm.
Not every Judite, but Hamashiach Yahushua. Go ahead.
Every knee shall bow.
Every mouth shall confess. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up?
So now as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? So Judah used to be a young lion. Everybody remember the story of King David? Solomon? How did David move amongst the heathens? When the heathens threatened the people, how did David and these brothers move, operate. David is a Judah.
Mhm.
And kill them.
He went down and killed them. When they threatened our people and opposed our people, how did they operate? They stood up for the people. They went out before the people and they came back before the people. At the time, Judah was on that. All right, they were on that. But when you look at America, who's predominantly getting gunned down in the streets?
Yeah,
Who get the most disrespected?
Judah.
Who get thrown into all these hoods and never stand up?
Mhm.
They became an old lion. They
Right.
became docile.
Mhm.
That's what happened to them. Now, if you had a whole bunch of, and I remember I said this years ago, if you had Jamaicans keep on getting shot down in the streets on the news, what would happen? They would rise up. If you see Issachar continue getting gunned down in the streets, their children getting gunned down in the streets, what would happen? If them crazy Haitians were getting gunned down in the streets like Judah get gunned down in the streets, what would happen? We would be in the kingdom already. Yahushua would need to come back so soon. We'll be back on the way back home to the land. But the scripture said Judah became that old lion, he became docile. Go ahead.
Who shall rouse him up?
Who's gonna make him remember that he's a lion again? Go ahead.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah,
Mm-hmm.
nor a lawgiver from between his feet.
So there's always gonna be a king that sits from the tribe of Judah. Go ahead.
Until Shiloh come,
Mm-hmm.
and unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
So stop. What is that talking about? Because all of this now is messianic prophecies now. So what is this referring to? To him should be the gathering of the people be. It's a Mashiach Yahushua.
Mhm.
Because who's gonna gather us all up together as one nation again?
Yeah, Yahushua, yeah.
Who's gonna all of us from the East Coast to the West Coast and bring us into these chariots as a nation?
Yahushua.
A Mashiach Yahushua.
Mhm.
A lot of times it's like a false, everybody have us like this, what do you call it? Position. We all waiting for the tribe of Judah to wake up. No. We're waiting for predominantly all the significant amount of all the 12 tribes to wake up. So before we can be delivered. We're waiting for Yahushua to come and deliver. We're not waiting for one specific tribe to wake up. We're waiting for the collective to wake up. Go ahead.
Binding his foal unto
Uh-huh.
the vine,
Mm-hmm.
and his donkey's colt unto the choice vine.
What this is referring to? Let's get Matthew 21:1. Get a precept real quick. It says, binding his fold. You get that. Binding his fold onto the vine, and his ass's colt onto the choice vine. What is that referring to? Does anybody want to take a guess before we read the scripture? Because if we it's all messianic prophecy by Hamashiach Yahushua now. Let's go ahead and read Matthew 21:1.
Matthew 21:1.
Mhm.
And when they drew nigh unto Jerusalem and were come to Beth and unto the Mount of Olives,
Mm-hmm.
then sent Yahushua 2 disciples, saying unto them,
Go ahead.
Go into the village over against you, and straightway ye shall find a donkey tied,
Mm-hmm.
and a colt with her.
Mm-hmm.
Loose them, and bring them unto me.
Mm-hmm.
And if any man say aught unto you, say, the other one have need of them,
Mm-hmm.
and straightway he will send them.
So this is all prophecy to let us know this is the Shiloh to come. This is the man that we're waiting to come from Genesis 49. Let me get Luke 24:44, and then we're gonna go right back to Genesis 49. Luke 24:44, and we'll go right back to Genesis 4.
Luke 24:44.
Uh-huh.
Unto them,
Mm-hmm.
these are the words which I spake unto you
Go ahead.
while I was yet with you,
Go ahead.
that all these things
Uh-huh.
must be fulfilled,
Uh-huh.
which were written in the law of Moses,
In the law of Moses, we read Genesis 49, and we reference to Matthew 21. Go ahead.
and in the prophets,
In the prophets, go ahead.
and in the Psalms
In the Psalms, go ahead.
concerning me.
Concerning him, that these things that we read about will indicate who will be that Savior to come and deliver us. This is one of those things. But let's go right back. Genesis 49.
Verse 11 again. Binding his foal unto the vine, and his donkey's colt unto the choice vine.
Mm-hmm.
He washed his garments in wine,
Mm-hmm.
and his clothes in the blood of grapes.
Let's get Isaiah 63:1. Let's get this future prophecy that we are waiting for. So it says that he washed his garments in wine and clothes in blood of grapes. That's you think it's literal.
Yeah, that's significant. Yeah.
It's figurative.
Yeah.
Because nobody's washing and baptizing their drawers in wine and lunches juice. Nobody does that. So what is it referring to? Let's get the prophecy. Isaiah 63:1.
Isaiah 63 verse
Is
1.
everybody at Isaiah 63:1?
Come.
All right, go ahead.
Who is this that cometh from Edom?
Isaiah seen a prophecy. Who is this that come from Edom? Who's Edom today? Who's from the nation of Edom? Edom is Esau, by the way. Who's Esau today?
Quote unquote white man.
The so-called white man, right? The Balaam. Go ahead.
Come.
With dyed garments from Basra.
Mm-hmm.
This that is
So stop. What's Basra? We got a lot of biblical scholars here. What's Basra?
I'm not sure.
I remember I said something before you give the answer. No word in the Bible is wasted. No punctuation in the Bible is wasted. So because none of it is wasted, make sure you understand it. Every word, every punctuation, because it's not wasted. It's there for a purpose, for you to understand. So what's Basra? You have Bible dictionaries, maybe you can get the Bible dictionary. Well, what is Basra? Let's get an understanding real quick. Let me get Isaiah 62 and 12 real quick. Give me Isaiah 62 and 12. Go ahead. Tamara, go ahead. Go ahead. You raise your hand. Get Isaiah 62 and 12. Basra is the capital city of Edom.
Yeah, I wanted to say
right?
that.
A lot of times in the scriptures, what does the Most High call us, refer us to? Does he always refer us to our names? What else? Israel. And what else? Jerusalem. Are we the city Jerusalem? No, but the Most High is associating our capital with us. And he does the same with Edom. Now, Babylon, right? The Babylonians and Babylon, etc. A lot of times we think there's not a race called Babylon is the city, the chief capital city. I believe it's the people there, the Chaldeans, if I remember. That's the actual ethnic people. The same way the Most High call us Jerusalem, and we're not the actual city. We don't have no walls and stairs on our bodies. Same way, Edom is referred to as Basra, which is their capital city.
Or refers to Northern Kingdom as Samaria.
Or Samaria for the Northern Kingdom. That's not their name. That's just the capital of their city. Go ahead.
62 and 12.
Let's get an example of the Most High doing this.
And they shall call them
the what?
The holy
The
people,
holy people. This is a people. Read.
the redeemed of the Lord.
Read.
And thou shalt be called, sought out. A city.
A who?
A city.
A what?
A city.
A who?
Not forsaken.
A city not forsaken. We'll be called after this, like our capital, or a city, or a nation, etc. So the Most High referring to Esau. Is that it? Just know again. This is talking about the so-called white man. Isaiah 63 and 1. Go ahead.
Who is this that cometh from Edom?
Uh-huh.
With dyed garments from Basra.
Uh-huh.
This that is in his apparel.
Because right now his clothes are all red. It look like wine. He's coming from Edom, from killing Edomites. Go ahead.
Travailing in the greatness of his strength.
Go ahead.
I that speak in righteousness, mighty to say, wherefore art thou red in thine apparel?
So Isaiah's looking in this vision. He's like, yo, why is their clothes all red for? You feel me? Why it look like that? Go ahead.
In thy garments treadeth in the wine.
In the what?
In the wine.
In the who?
In the wine.
What did Genesis 49 say about this Messiah?
And Revelation 14:20.
Yeah. 14:20 says the same thing.
Yeah.
But what did it say in Genesis 49?
You wash his garments in wine.
This is the one that he washed his garments from. Go ahead.
I have trodden the winepress alone.
So Yahushua is going to say, I did this by myself. A real one did it alone. Go ahead.
And of the people, there was none with me.
There was none with them. He's like, I did this solo dolo. I'm going to go massacre these people. Go ahead.
For I will tread them in my anger.
He would do what?
I will tread them in my anger.
Go ahead.
And trample them in my fury.
Go ahead.
And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments.
Now we understand what this wine was, what these grapes was on this Messiah's vesture in Genesis 49. It's the blood of these Edomites, which this hasn't happened yet. Now I will say, how much as we get on Judah, the greatest revolution that will ever take place upon the face of the earth
that every race will talk about for generations to come, for eons, will be led by a Judite, which is a Mashiach Yahusha, the son of David. He's going to fulfill this when he returns. So let's go right back to where we at in Genesis 49.
Verse 12. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk.
All right. The book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 13. Zebulun should dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. It's you.
Correct. Because when you look in the map of ancient Israel, the tribe of Zebulun was on the coast.
No.
Was his border next to Zidon? No, it was landlocked. You feel me? That's why you know it's making reference to Zebulun's descendants, right?
Yeah.
We say the tribe of Zebulun are the indigenous people, the people of Central America. What do you have there? What landmark you have there?
Panama Canal.
Right? It passes through where our people is. That's how we know the tribe of Zebulun is a haven. It passes through the inheritance, right? In ancient times, the Mayans populated the entirety of Central America, right? So that's how we know the tribe of Zebulun. Right? They descend from those peoples. Right?
Okay. Verse 14. Issachar is a strong donkey, counting down between two burdens. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. Okay. Dan shall judge his people as the tribes of Israel. Go on, Issachar.
Go on. And we say that Issachar is what? So Mexicans of indigenous descent. Of you know, the Europeans that came over there, the Arabs, they got Chinese people over there too, benefiting and reaping the benefit. Just like we over here, you see, you got East Indians, right? You got the Arabs, you got the Chinese in our neighborhood. That's the same thing over there too. You feel me? Because it says that he crouched between two burdens. What are his two burdens, man? Right? Because when you see, like for example, when Mexicans were to cross the border into the United States and flood into California, flood into these different areas, right? They were coming in there for what? Jobs and stuff like that. They were fleeing their inheritance, man. Because when the heathens came over there, they took their inheritance, right? And it caused a generational poverty that made them leave, man. Over there, they were working a hard life, and over here, they were doing what? Working a hard life. Issachar means what? He is what?
He is high.
And the hardest so-called Latino people are what? Issachar, they're everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Feel me?
Yeah.
When it comes to labor, when it comes to construction, when it comes to anything that deals in that field, they're there, right? It's not by coincidence.
And they always come in groups.
They come in groups and they help each other out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that shows you the difference in the tribe of Issachar. It's a spiritual thing too, as well.
Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Mm-hmm. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backward.
Come on, we say that the tribe of Dan would be the Cuban people because it's snakes. When do you see snakes? Like if you walk in the grass, you walk in your front lawn. When do you see snakes?
Until they strike.
When they're ready to strike. When they bite you, when it's too late.
Yeah.
After they bit you and you already went, die.
They're finished, man.
Right.
Because in the Caribbean, the only country that like posed a threat in the last 100 years to the United States was Cuba with the Cuban Missile Crisis, man. Potential, man. That's why Dan, the children of Dan, is in that area, in that island, man. It's a threat to what? United States, man.
That's a prime example in that movie, X-Men First Class.
You see, X-Men, because you see that I watched it too.
Right.
The Soviet, they were gonna bring missiles to the island, man.
Right. Yeah.
And that, that was, a lot of people say that was the closest the U.S. came to World War III, right? Over the Cuban Missile Crisis, man. Yeah. That's how we know that the children of Dan is on our island, man.
Right.
Verse 18. I have waited for thy salvation, O Adonai. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last.
Gad means what? Troop, right?
Yeah.
Army.
Army, right? So who do we say is the tribe of Gad?
North American Indians.
Okay. We say Gad is the North American Indians, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right here, it says a troop shall overcome him. Who overcame the North American Indians?
Yeah.
U.S. government.
Yeah.
They came in first with Andrew Jackson, because Andrew Jackson was known as the Indian killer, and he forced them west of the Mississippi. He took their land, took their inheritance, and then what? They put them on reservations, and then they what? Invaded those reservations and then killed them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what happened to the Native Americans. This didn't happen to the Reubenites. The Reubenites didn't lose inheritance. They fought back, and they caused, with the U.S. government, caused them 3 wars.
Okay.
Right? And it says, he shall what?
Overcome at the last.
And that's when the Mashiach Yahushua comes back, because at the end of the day, in the last chapter of the book, we get that inheritance. We're going to overcome them, and we're going to bring judgment on these people.
Mm-hmm.
Out of Asher, his bread should be fat, and he should yield royal dainties.
We say Asher, right? What?
Royal dainties.
Because within that Central America, with Ecuador, with Peru, with Colombia, with Venezuela, we have what? The Incans, right?
Right.
Right? And what were the Incan Empire? They had a line of emperors, right? And it was filled with what?
Mm-hmm.
Wealth. You should get the scriptures. Con, read it.
The book of Deuteronomy 33, verse 24. Remember, if you guys didn't know this, write these things down.
Mhm.
Write these things down. All right. Remember, like he said, brought out, I did instruct everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you have your notes.
Mhm.
Have your notes, because you don't know, especially we teach a lot in Miami.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the North in Homestead.
Yeah.
You see a lot of them in Cali Ocho, Little Havana, when you're running into them. These are things that you should be writing down. Okay. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 24.
I was going to expound a little bit more. Like, when the conquistadors entered that area and they conquered the Incans, they found they filled an entire ship filled with what? Silver. That ship sank. That was the amount of wealth that they had over there. Can you read that scripture?
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 24.
Mhm.
And of Asher, he said, let Asher be blessed with children.
Blessed with children, right?
Let him be acceptable to his brethren.
Uh-huh.
Because, they were known for cannibalism, especially a lot of these Asherites.
Yeah.
They're in the Amazon. Never met with a lot of them in the Amazon. They're still finding and identifying new tribes. And a lot of them were doing cannibalism in the Amazon forest. That's why I said, let him be acceptable to his brethren. Because if you're eating, people don't want to deal with you. Nobody going to do trades. Because as much as they trying to make our people look uncivilized,
Right.
we were very civilized over here in the Americas when we had different trade routes. We were dealing with each other, and we're exporting and sharing with these different empires, Northern Kingdom empires.
Mm-hmm.
So they were being kind of like they're like the castaways. Like, yo, these guys are eating people. They're over here. They'll eat your children. Like, let's not deal with them. So, and let him dip his foot in oil.
All right, good question, man. Where are the highest oil reserves located? In which South American country?
Venezuela.
Why? Because that's what the children of Asher, he said his feet shall dip his feet shall what? Dip his feet in oil, man. That's why if you ask yourself why that country is where it is where the United States have its hand in. You know?
Right.
Because the US their oil, man. Because they have almost the same amount of oil as Saudi Arabia. You know? It's not by coincidence, man. The children of Asher dwell there. Right? You can
Okay. Let him dip his foot in oil. Thy shoes shall be iron.
that should,
Iron.
what does Brazil mean? Iron.
Barzal in the Hebrew.
Yeah. Goes from a Hebrew word which is iron. Read.
And brass.
Mhm.
And as thy days shall thy strength be.
And all of these things you can see in that greater territory. For me, that's how you know those indigenous people of those areas come from the children of Asher.
And even when it says like you should be blessed with children, out of all those countries that you see in South America, only 2 of them belong to Naphtali. All of them else is Asher.
Wow.
Brazil, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay, all of that is Asher's children.
Mm-hmm.
So he outnumbered the other Northern Kingdom with children out there with this big number of population of people. Verse 21. Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words.
Naphtali represents, so-called indigenous people from Argentina and Chile. If you read what it says.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 23. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor, and full with the blessing of Yahweh, possess thou the west and south.
Possess what?
The west and south.
Okay, where was the tribe of Naphtali located in ancient Israel? You can check. I know your Bibles come with a map at the back of it.
Everybody have a phone.
Everybody got a phone, man. You got to look because remember, the 10 tribes are known as what? The 10 lost tribes, right, of the nation of Israel. But they're not lost, man. It's like when we read in 2 Ezra 13 and 44, it says that 10 tribes would go to another land. You feel me?
Yeah.
Moses says they're going to possess what? The west and south, correct? Right? So now we know he's not talking about in ancient Israel. He's speaking about something else. All right? So where are they located in the map in ancient Israel? Somebody got to answer it, right? Because Amalek, if I ask him that, he's gonna start breaking it down, saying he's the Jew. Of course, he knows. So y'all gotta know. Where does it say? Naphtali's next to Asher in the north of Israel, right?
Yeah.
So when it says he shall possess the what? The west and the south, he's talking about where you go in the Americas, man. In the west and in the south, in Chile, in that area, right?
Okay.
I'm actually pulling it up right now. Because if you look in the southern and most western of the Americas, that's the two countries. There's Argentina and Chile, the indigenous people. Because in Argentina, there's a lot of Italians and stuff like that. Indigenous people of those areas, they descend from the children of Naphtali. Verse 22. Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him for his bow of strength. It says Joseph is a what? A fruitful bow. That's a little island. If you look at Puerto Rico, man, it's a small island, right? And there's Puerto Ricans everywhere. I think we've met more Puerto Ricans than we've met like Cubans that year. And Cuba is like a huge island, right?
Right, yeah.
Right? New York is filled with what? It's filled with Puerto Ricans, right? And it's such a small island, man. Most High God gave them that blessing to multiply, right?
Like the Yoruba, right? They're the descendants of Joseph as well.
Correct. Because the Yoruba Nigeria is, but they're the main slaves that was shipped over there to the Puerto Rico.
Okay. And I remember when I was going over this previously. When we look at the population of the Yoruba, it's about 44 million. When you look at the population of Puerto Rico, it's about like 2-3 million.
Yeah.
So it's a big. That's what the scripture says. Let me read it again. Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well. When a tree is by a well, it has a high source of what? Of water.
Right.
It has all the things that need to keep growing and flourishing, right? Who's going over the wall? That means like he has so much children.
Right.
They're not going to all be in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
They can't be contained in this well, right?
Right.
They have a big population of people. That's why he's bringing out. There's so many of them in Puerto Rico and so many of them in New York City and etc. Even in Florida, that little island, you run into Puerto Ricans like left and right in Florida. They have such a big population, even and where they at in Nigeria and the Yoruba, it's 44 million compared to where they at in the island. You understand? So I'm going to read. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him.
This is what?
The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him.
And that's talking about when the conquistadors landed to the island, right? They conquered the people, man. They put them in slavery, and they murdered them, right? Keep going.
But his bow abode in strength.
His bow abode in what?
In strength.
In what?
In strength.
And when you ask Puerto Rican people, man, what do they tell you about their origins? Do they say, man, we the sons of Spaniards? They say, no, I'm a Taino. My great grandfather, Taino, Puerto Rico. They always claim their indigenous heritage, right? Keep going.
And the arms of his hand were made strong by the hand of the mighty power of Jacob.
Because the Most High God is the one that, because, you know, the Most High God is the one that preserves our people. Because if it's not for the Most High God, we wouldn't be here as a nation. Because our people went through a lot of things in the last 500, 600, 700 years, right? Right? So the Most High God is the one that preserved their people and kept them as a nation and allowed them to multiply.
Exactly.
Keep going.
From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel, even by the power of thy Father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty who shall bless thee with the blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lie under the blessings of the breast of the womb.
He's talking about, you know, the multiplying of children, right?
The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors, unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They should be on the head of Joseph.
It should be a head of who?
Of Joseph. The crown of the head of him that was separate from his brother.
That was what?
Separate from his brother.
That was talking about how, you know, Joseph was also separated from the other sons of Jacob as well. But you got to look at these blessings. The Most High God gave them that blessing so they could multiply and grow, right? Like, you know, the captain mentioned it earlier. Out of all Latino people, who are the most famous Latinos?
Puerto Ricans.
Why is that? Right? When it comes to music in Spanish, right? Who's leading? Puerto Rico.
And boxing too, right?
Boxing, who's
Yeah.
leading it?
Yeah.
Puerto Ricans. When it comes to fashion, right? Who's leading it? Puerto Ricans, right? And they have such a small population, right? Why is that? Because the Most High God did all of these things to show they're the children of Ephraim, man. That they're the head of their brothers, right?
Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. In verse 27 it says, Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. When you go into that word raven is tarap in the Hebrew, meaning to attack, to devour. Right? Benjamin attack, devour, or cries out. What is Benjamin known for speaking about? The topics that they're known for speaking about in their music, the reggae. Everybody know about Studio One music. You Benjamin, you shaking your head, you should be giving, what is Benjamin known for? Speaking in their music. You're going like this. And I'm saying
revolution.
Huh?
Revolution.
Constant revolution. What else do they talk about?
Jerusalem.
Talk about Jerusalem. They talk about what else?
Destruction of Babylon the Great.
Destruction of Babylon. Right. Destruction against unrighteousness. Anybody, one of my favorite songs is by Warrior King, Virtuous Woman. They talk about having a strong family. They talk about Yahweh. Even though they say Jah, there's no Jah, right? But we understand what they were trying to say. Right? They're talking about the Most High God. So they're known for this. This is how they cry against wickedness. And from all 12 tribes of Israel, they're the most known in the Western Hemisphere for singing and crying out like this, right? So not only is the Benjamites the Somalicans, but they're also the Trinidadians, right? The Bahamians, the Guyanese, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, St. Croix, all make up the Benjamites. When you go to the west coast of Africa, I believe it's the Cromanti, the Akan, and the Fanti. All of these guys will be the Benjamites of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Because of time, we just breezing right through it. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. This is it that their father spake unto them and blessed them. Everyone according to his blessing he blessed them. And he charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite for a possession of a burying place. There they buried Abraham, and Sarah his wife. There they buried Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field and of the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. When Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed and yielded up the ghost and was gathered unto his people. Go ahead, start reading chapter 50. A lot of information in chapter 49. Right? So we got a little bit more to go to. Genesis chapter 50.
Verse 1.
Go ahead.
And Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept upon him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel.
So he commanded that they do the embalming. Embalming is a way to preserve the body. Because if they're going to go bury in this designated place, it's a long journey. So your body start going to rigor mortis in the various process. It goes to decomposing. So it'll be like damn near like tarnished. That stuff. If it's not embalmed. Go ahead.
Is that everybody's custom or that's an Egyptian custom?
From right here, from what we see from the Egyptians, they did the embalming. I believe for Yahushua, they did some type of form of embalming with Yahushua in the New Testament, right?
Okay.
But then again, if you get embalmed, that's not a sin to be embalmed.
Right.
If you don't get embalmed, you're not breaking God's commandments. The most prominent way that we buried our people, we buried them, we wrapped them up in linen, and we buried them in a cave. Predominantly, a lot of times it was in caves. It wasn't even in the ground, right? But rather you get buried in the cave, rather you get buried in the ground, rather you get wrapped in linen, rather you don't, rather you even do cremation or etc. None of these are sins. The Most High didn't give us no commandment, no law, or anything. But it was customary predominantly for us to be wrapped up and buried in a cave, or etc., or buried in the ground. That was something that was customary to our people. Go ahead.
And 40 days were fulfilled for him, so are fulfilled the days of them, those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave, which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan, there shalt thou bury me. Now therefore let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father. And I will come again. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father, according as he had made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph, and his brother, and his father's house, only their little ones, and their flocks and their herds, they left in the land of Goshen.
So everybody went. All the children stayed behind, the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, they stayed behind. The flocks and the herds, they stayed behind. It's like, this event, you gotta put it in like a picture in your mind. Everybody remember when Michael Jackson died? How did the streets look when Michael Jackson died? Mourning, crying, marching. You can imagine like that. It was like that for Jacob times too. Jacob was a well-known man. He's the father of the man who preserved Egypt.
Right.
So you imagine it's like it was a spectacle during this time. Like, yo, this man died. The father of this man, Joseph. So go ahead.
There went up with him both chariots and horsemen. They were very great company. They came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan. And there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land of the Canaanites saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Wherefore the name of Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. And his sons did unto him according as he commanded them. For his sons carried him to Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field of possession of a burying place of Ephron the Hittite, before Mamre. And Joseph went to Egypt, he and his brother, and all that went up with him to bury his father, after he had buried his father. And when Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead.
So now the brothers are like, hey, everything was good. Our dad has passed away. Now they think into their minds what?
They said, Joseph will peradventure hate us, and will certainly requite us all evil, which we did unto him. And they sent a messenger unto Joseph, saying, Thy father did command before he died, saying.
So now they're saying, like, yo, Joseph is gonna get payback. Ain't nobody gonna hold him back now.
Right.
Because he was so ready to see his up, nobody gonna hold him back. Now they're trying to say, remember, read.
So shall ye say unto Joseph, Forgive, I pray thee now, the trespass of thy brethren and their sin. For they did unto thee evil, and now we pray thee, forgive the trespass of thy servants of the power of thy father. And Joseph wept.
Now, wait, hold up. Did Jacob ever say this? Jacob never said this.
In the scriptures.
He never, listen, he didn't say it. He said, yo, remember Abba said to let this slide, and that was never said in the scriptures. I'll see, I don't remember him saying this. Go ahead.
And Joseph wept when they spake unto him. And his brethren also went and fell down before his face, and they said, Behold, we be thy servants. And Joseph said unto them, Fear not, for am I in the place of the Most High? But as for you, ye thought of evil against me, but the Most High meant it unto good.
So he's saying, like, yo, you wanted to do me hurt. But the Most High did all of this, so I'll be able to save you on the end. And save our children, I mean your children, and your children's children in the end.
To bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. Now therefore, fear ye not, I will nourish you and your little ones. And he comforted and spake kindly unto them. And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. The children also, Micaiah the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said to his brother, I died, and the Most High will surely visit you.
So he's telling them the same thing Jacob told him. Yo, I'm gonna die, but the Most High gonna come visit. You're gonna agree?
And bring you out of this land unto the land which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, The Most High will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a
Let's get the Most High. So definitely, there's a lot of information in all 50 chapters of the book of Genesis. Next, we're gonna go into Exodus next weekend. We're gonna eventually start going over a lot of the laws. And we're gonna go revisit Passover. And we're gonna go through that cycle again. So, all praise be to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For those of you that was able to make it today. Those of you that stay consistent on the live stream, that tune in with us. Hopefully, everybody took down notes, because I will be asking the same questions next week. And there will definitely be surprises with camp personnel and not to notice. So please go over this portion again, keep going over it, know this information, because this is all for our benefit and connection to our people. When you have this understanding, you're able to make a deeper connection to your people. That's the purpose of it. And able to identify who's your enemies and who's your family. So, because of time, we are going to set up a prayer, and we're going to close out today's service. So if we could get ready to get the instructions for this afternoon. All right, Amadyam will rise to his knees. Hallelujah.
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 All praises, all power, all glory, all authority go to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For surely his mercy endureth forever. I'll be the Torah, Yahweh. Yahweh be able to refine us and make us purer than gold, Yahweh. Make our value increase in your eyes, Yahweh. We thank you, Yahweh, for giving us the Shabbat, peace, Yahweh, that we will reflect in your holy scriptures, Yahweh.
We ask that you guide us and encamp your angels around us for the rest of this afternoon, Yahweh. Please purge out any iniquity in us, Yahweh. Please mortify the members of our family so we be counted worthy to be delivered out of this destruction in America, Yahweh. We ask that you guide us. We ask that you protect us, Yahweh. And we ask that you use vessels of righteousness and our wickedness to be able to pull our people out of the darkness into this glorious light. We ask that, Yahweh, that you watch over us for the rest of the day and you continue raising up the nation of Yahweh until we get our salvation that thou has written in the scriptures. All this has word of thee by Hashem. Mashiach Yahweh Shai Torah Portion Gen. Amen.
Amen.
All right, let's give the most high round of applause. We want to say shalom to our family on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it.
What's up?